mind-expanding sundown sporting discourse for witches, kebab van owners...
You want some chilli sauce with that?
...and washed-up burglars too fat to fit through your cat flap.
You great fat thieving lumper lad!
Cult listening worth staying awake for. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll read that again. Oh no, I was right the first time. The Two Mics on Talk Sport.
A bit of a sort of, cushy, expense-ridden, bloated, underperforming, indolent and rather inefficient ex-newspaper executive who fell into radio because there was nothing else for you to do.
OK, shut up now.
No. You're an unattractive fat slop. You fat-faced fool. You half-baked. You're a disgrace.
I am.
Japanese tits.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very, very good morning to slightly crestfallen Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
A very good morning to you, Mike. Not slightly crestfallen at all. I'm delighted for the Irish.
Are you?
They've done a brilliant job.
You've done nothing but slag them off since the start of the tournament.
No, you've misunderstood me
Really?
entirely. I always thought that with the influence of Roy Keane in the background,
who's a very dark man, as you've described him.
coming forward
Right.
and making his presence and his character known upon the squad, that
You've
it would
described him as a very dark character.
it would eventually produce results, and of course it has produced results.
You've
and
described him as a very dark character.
Well, he can be. There's no doubt about
Did you
that.
see how happy he was at the end?
He was very happy.
He was literally hugging Martin. I've never seen him hugging anyone like he was hugging Martin O'Neill.
Yeah,
they obviously have a very strong bond.
They have a very strong bond, and it works. And now, unfortunately, they picked a short straw, really, in the round of 16, haven't they? Because they've got to play France. Is that right?
Well, I mean, they beat Italy. So, I mean, you're in the last 16, you've got to play somebody decent, haven't you?
Well, they beat Italy's reserves, really. I mean, I'm not trying to be... You're
not trying to take anything away from them,
No, I'm not trying to be ingracious. It's a fantastic result. You know, when
How about ungracious?
When ungracious or ingracious, I don't want to be an ingrate, you know what I mean?
Well, I read your tweet earlier tonight.
Yes.
Got to give it to the Republic of Ireland for tonight's result.
Yeah.
Strange old game with 9 Italian changes, almost a reserve team, but well done. I mean, talk about a mealy-mouthed sort of, congratulatory note.
No, I think that's very fulsome. I was only stating the facts, and the point I was making there was that it was perhaps a bit more confusing for the Irish than it might have been if Italy had played their full-strength team, because they didn't really know what they were up against. You see what I mean?
Yes.
They hadn't planned to play the team that Italy put out tonight, so in a way, it was an even better result than one might have expected.
Well, Martin O'Neill made quite a few changes as well, didn't he?
He did, of course he did, yeah.
So, I mean, you'd have to say he managed the game incredibly well. I mean, and that's his job. As a manager, what he did was he put a team out that beat the team that he was playing against.
That's absolutely right.
Which is tremendous.
And it means now, in the round of 16, 25% of the teams playing in the round of 16, on the eve of the great EU debate, which has already started in the sense that we're on the day of the EU debate, and the polls open at 7 o'clock today.
That's right.
But can you
Don't
believe...
forget our big show coming up later on tonight.
Indeed, yeah. But can you believe that 25% of the teams in the last 16 come from the British Isles?
Well, it's not easy to work out now, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
Because I see that you were touting that again on the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast about your 18.375% load of old cobblers.
8.75,
whatever it was, It's 25% now, which proves again, on the morning that the Republic of Ireland were playing Italy, you were not expecting them to go through.
Well, no, it wasn't that. It's just that I wasn't going to be presumptuous, and the game hadn't happened, and therefore it was very difficult to predict what was going to happen.
You expected them to be beaten.
9.
Let me refer to some of your early tweets today. Ronaldo will win this game for Portugal single-handedly. His determination to erase his previous chaotic performances is so obvious.
Yes.
Now, I think I'm right in saying 2 minutes after you posted that particular tweet, Hungary went 1-up.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
A couple of minutes later, you then said, Ronaldo will be even more determined now to win this game single-handedly. He's going to be the star of comeback Portugal.
Yes, that's right. And they were.
Shortly after that, they let another goal.
Yes, that's right. But what was the final result?
The final result was a draw.
3-3.
Yes.
And who was the man of the match?
You'd probably say Ronaldo was.
Well, thank you very much.
But they didn't win the game.
He scored 2 outstanding goals.
They did not win the game.
It's not his fault that his defence let him down.
Anyway, so that is your second Porky Jinx of the day. The third Porky Jinx of the day, of course, is Austria. The team that you
let me down
from the
badly.
beginning of the tournament as the dark horse.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll never go skiing to Austria again, because...
When was the last time you went skiing there?
Well, I haven't actually ever been skiing to Austria, but I mean, if I ever had any plans to go, I'm not going now.
No. They were useless.
They were...
I mean, they're probably the worst team in the tournament, aren't they?
Do you know what I think they were, Mike?
What?
I think they were Tyrolable. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Austrian Tyrol.
Yes,
you got it?
Yes, I know about the Tyrol.
That was very funny.
I've actually been there,
Now, of course, this means that England now face up to Iceland.
Yeah.
which is very exciting because Iceland have won their first ever game in competitive tournament play.
Yeah, well, it's the first tournament they've ever been to, I think.
It is the first tournament they've been to.
Well, until literally, and I mean, as Portugal were walking off the pitch thinking they'd come second, suddenly Iceland got that last-minute goal.
It was last minute.
And leapfrogged up into second place, because otherwise it would have been England-Portugal, wouldn't it?
It would have been England-Portugal, and, you know, some of the purists in football say, oh, you know, I'd rather play Portugal, we know what we're doing when we're playing Portugal. Well, sorry, mate. But, you know, any team that contains Ronaldo is an extremely dangerous team, and the worst we've got to fear against Iceland, apart from their indomitable spirit, is old Siggy, isn't it?
Who?
Siggy?
Siggy, that's my dog's name.
That's your dog's name, yeah. You know what I'm talking about. Of course, that's what I'm talking about. Siggy, we call him Siggy. Yeah.
What about Ida Johnson?
Ida Johnson, not a bad shout there. He could be a handful.
My favourite character. Well, the thing about Iceland is that they play Scotland an awful lot. Right?
I'm talking about Gylfi Sigurdsson.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said.
Not Sigurdsson Gylfi. You know that, don't you?
I didn't say Sigurdsson Gylfi.
I thought you did.
Well, what you think and what actually comes out of your mouth is extraordinarily linked to the.
Do you know how much he's worth?
You talk absolute utter rubbish.
Do you know how much he's worth?
He used to play for Spurs, didn't he?
Yeah, he's worth these days. He's only 2.5 million according to fantasy football charts.
Really? Yeah. Well, I mean, once his star may rise if he does something decent against England.
Now, what we really like about Iceland, of course, is the name of their manager.
That's right.
Which is
Monsieur Lagerbäck. Lars Lagerbäck.
Lars Lagerbäck. I love it.
But he's also the joint manager, right? Because there's a guy called Heimir Hallgrimsson, who's also a joint manager as well. Yes. And apparently, when Hallgrimsson was his assistant, he used to also practice as a dentist.
Well, he's a dentist as well, is he?
Yeah, but
pull a few teeth out.
Maybe that would work for England.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, the dentist chair scenario.
Well,
maybe get Roy Hodgson to do something in his spare time.
Well, you know, when Sven was the manager.
Yeah, well, we know what he did in his spare time.
I'm not getting into that, but he had a deputy who was a very mild.
The Rogerisation chair he was using.
No. He was a very mild-mannered man.
Who, Sven?
No, Sven was quite mild-mannered, but his deputy was even more mild-mannered.
Oh, the guy that was used to follow him around?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the guy looked like Biffo the Bear.
That's him,
he had big ears, but I can't remember his name now. No. But anyway, the point of it...
Didn't you used to work with these guys?
I never worked with Sven. Well, I mean, Sven knew me very well. Sven knew me so well that when I was given 36 hours to live in Harefield Hospital, the very next day, an England shirt arrived with "Get Well Soon, Mike Sven." So he helped
Mike Sven?
Get Well Soon, Mike. Sven. He's signed by Sven.
Okay.
So he contributed towards
what have you done with that?
My miracle recovery as well. It's on the wall of my South Coast penthouse.
Is it?
Yes.
All right.
I'm surprised I didn't show you that when you came round.
Well, I was only there for about 2 seconds.
No, you weren't.
Before you took me on the one-way ferry trip.
No. You were there to watch the firework display over the harbour.
We were hardly there for any time at all.
Well, you were there long enough to drink 2 bottles of my Pinot Grigio.
No, I don't think so.
And I thought I had shown you round. Now,
that was where I found a locked room.
There is no locked room.
There is. Is it Tord Grip you're thinking of?
Tord Grip.
That's him.
That's the guy. Yeah, because you know what the joke I used to make in those days. It's still very funny.
Really?
I knew his brother Getter. You get that?
That's quite good. Now, Irish one says, Grip, Porky, could you just not say "Well done, Ireland"? You have to mention that Italy had a reserve team on.
No. I want to say "Well done, Ireland."
Ray says, "I love Porky, but can you ask that plank how many changes Ireland made?"
Ireland made a few changes.
Quite a few.
Yes, there's no doubt about that. The other thing about Iceland is that if England lose, it'll be the greatest humiliation ever. And I don't think we will lose, not for a moment.
Yeah, but there's always that possibility with Hodgson in charge, isn't there?
Well, I suppose so. And yes, there is actually. And what I would say is,
my point is, you can't go into any game as an England fan with Hodgson in charge, feeling
with
100%
total confidence. No,
against anyone.
I totally agree.
Because I was actually, funnily enough, this morning and yesterday morning now in the Telegraph, they had a great piece about what would happen if they played Portugal, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And there's only about 5 or 6 teams that England have ever beaten in the knockout stage of a competition.
I know.
And they're teams like Cameroon.
I know.
And
Cameroon was the last 16 in Italy, wasn't it? 90.
Yeah. But none of what you would call big teams like Italy, Germany, Spain, France. None of those teams.
Well, beat Argentina.
None of those teams. By the way, I was on the radio in Melbourne earlier on.
Oh, really?
Talking about Argentina.
Who you talking to?
I was talking to his mate of mine, Francis Leach, who runs the show down there.
Very good. I like that.
Because it's the 30th anniversary of the Maradona Hand of God goal.
Of course it is.
So they wanted to talk to me, and you know what they were trying to do?
No.
They were trying to wind me up about how the fact the England have never forgotten about it.
Yes.
So do you know what I said to him?
What?
I said, well, I've seen some desperate measures after you've lot been slaughtered by our rugby team.
Exactly.
So, but basically,
excellent.
There's nothing wrong with remembering the Maradona goal. Doesn't bother me at all.
No.
good luck with the third game.
Yes,
so you'll get more than 7 points this time.
Brilliant, well done. That was a great comeback.
I thought you'd appreciate that. Flying the flag for England.
Did appreciate it. We should concentrate more really on the England-Iceland game, because I was about to say to you...
Oh, sorry, do you mean I've interrupted you?
Yes, you have, yeah. It would be...
Well, have you seen the time?
It would be so embarrassing to lose to a country whose population is about the size of Norwich.
Yes.
Norwich, of course, being the place where nobody ever goes, because there's no motorways to East Anglia, to Norwich. So it wouldn't surprise me if more people in this country had actually been to Iceland than been to Norwich.
Well, 330,000 is supposed to be the latest estimate of the country's population, which is smaller than Leicester. And smaller than Croydon, as in a London borough. So I don't think... I mean, there was a statistic I heard the other day as well, where you have something like a 1 in 25 chance of playing for the national team if you're born a male in Iceland, because there's so few people.
Along with all their stars, whose names I can rattle out to you. Don't forget Ida Gudjonsson.
Yeah, I've already mentioned him.
Don't forget Gudny Bergson. Heide Helgason. And Herman Heraldsson. Herman!
I like him a lot. This is Talk Sport. This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes. Porkyvision coming up a little bit later on, of course. Don't forget, tomorrow night we're going to have a massive referendum special. 5 hours of myself and the Porkmeister sort of taking in and interpreting what can be the early results as they come in.
And what could be an historic night for this country.
It could indeed,
and I mean really historic, you know?
Absolutely.
Well, historic
not just because we're working 5 hours together.
Well, I mean, that's
historic enough.
That's pretty historic, but it could change the shape and the face of this country forever.
Make sure I'm getting plenty of rest. I don't want to go and do lally sort of halfway through the fourth hour.
No, I won't go and do lally, don't worry.
Matty says this: evening, lads, can we get updates on the second Copa America semi-final between Colombia and Chile, please? We certainly can. It's currently 1-0 to Chile, who, of course, beat Mexico, I think it was, 7-0 in the last round. And they'll go on to play Argentina, who won last night against the United States of America.
Cry for me.
For heaven's sake. Now, I'm telling you, boys, my boys were magnificent, says Patrick, but I guess you have to say it in the right accent. Amazing that you haven't done your Martin O'Neill accent yet.
I'm telling you, my players tonight were magnificent. And for once, I agree with him. They were.
Yeah, well, you're going to have to stop making fun of him because and also, did you notice?
Am I making fun?
You said last night that you've never seen him on the pitch side without a tracksuit.
Yes.
Last night he was wearing a very, very handsome sort of Republic of Ireland polo shirt.
Yes.
Right, and not a tracksuit at all.
Yeah.
But what about the tracksuit bottoms worn by the Hungarian goalkeeper?
Oh, it's so funny. He looked like a pub goalkeeper.
And he looked like a pub goalkeeper, but also he was sweating so much that there was this great sweat stains down these trousers.
Well, that could have been something to do with the ground that he was rolling round on. Of course.
No, it was sweat. Because it was a really hot day.
Yeah, well, I mean,
everybody else was sweating.
Yeah.
But why is he wearing long trousers?
But there's moisture. Well, I've no idea. But the people who used to wear those were the pub footballers. When they used to play in the Sunday morning league, and I played for Browns of Chester. I was a star of them.
Browns of Chester
on Sunday mornings.
What's Browns of Chester?
Browns of Chester is a big shop in Chester.
You played for a shop?
Yeah, I played for a shop. Yeah, it's called Browns of Chester.
Well, why did you play for them?
Well, Browns of Chester is a bit like Fortnum and Mason.
It's
in
London.
Like it is. It's like Harrods.
Absolute rubbish.
No, it's like the Harrods of the North.
Cobblers.
It's like the Harrods of the North.
The Harrods of the North.
Yeah. So
why would you say that?
Well, because Chester
is it still there?
Yes, of course it is. It's been there for like 300 years. It's the top shopping shop in the northwest of England, okay?
Really?
People travel from miles around to go to Chester to shop at Browns of Chester.
Well, I've never heard of it.
Well, I don't care whether you've heard of it or not. You don't come from the northwest of England, but I do.
Well, it's now part of Debenhams, so there you go.
Yeah, well, it's owned by the Debenhams chain, but it's still Browns of Chester.
It's not the Harrods of the North, is it? It's the Debenhams of the North.
No, it's the Harrods of the North, owned by the Debenhams chain.
Rubbish.
Anyway, the point of the story is...
I'd like for anyone who's ever been to the Harrods of the North to please tweet us in.
Yes, please
tell us how good it is.
Please do.
And tell us if it's got a Harrods food hall as good as Harrods.
And the point is that my mum worked there, right? And so did the mum of another friend of mine.
Yeah.
But also, so did my mate Tony, who worked in the dispatch department. He used to send out, when people came in and bought furniture.
Yeah, but how can you play for a team from a shop that you don't work for?
Well,
that's basically dishonest.
No. What happened was when all my mates left the local secondary mod, Overley, right? Yeah. Because they're all, like, didn't have a future in academics, so they all left at 16.
Well, unlike you.
Unlike me.
Well, you didn't have a future in academics either. You went to a polytechnic and didn't finish the course.
So anyway, what happened was...
Not anyway.
What happened was
they snob.
They couldn't play football for the school. So they said, why don't we form a team? So we formed a team, right? And we started in the 7th league of local football, right?
Yeah.
And within 6 years... No, it was the 4th league. It was the 4th league of local football. Yeah. And within 4 years, we were in the top league, and we won the top league.
Yeah, but none of you actually were genuine players for a proper store.
Tony was.
Because you didn't work there.
Tony was. He was head of dispatch at Browns of Chester. He used to send out the beds and the wardrobes.
They were taken over by Debenhams in 1976.
Well, that's right. But they're owned by the Debenhams chain, but they're still Browns of Chester. And the other point I should make clear to you, is...
Did you ever nick anything from there?
From where?
From Browns of Chester.
Of course I didn't.
Well, you're telling me that you had a mate that ran a dispatch department.
Yes.
And you didn't have him deliver things to your house free of charge.
No.
I don't believe you.
No.
That's exactly the sort
I'm
of
not
thing
a petty
you would do.
thief like you.
That's the sort of thing you would do.
You've confessed to being a petty thief. Well, start off, my mum worked there. She worked in the jumpers department.
Jumpers?
Right? Knitwear. And...
knitwear?
Yeah, and...
Well, are you being served?
And my mate Kev got a Saturday job in the men's fashion department, and I have to admit... Most Saturdays, he walked out of there wearing a shirt or a jumper or a jacket or something that he was modelling that day, you know what I mean?
See,
which he forgot to leave behind.
None of your mates were involved in this kind of petty thievery, weren't they?
Well, you're involved in petty thievery all your life. You told me that.
No, absolutely not.
You used to steal Mars bars as a child.
Yeah, so how does that correspond to... So how does that respond to all your life? I used to steal Mars bars as a child once in a while. You've just said, therefore, that revolves around my entire life.
Yes.
Really?
Well, hang on. You've admitted within the last 12 months to not purchasing, secreting and stealing 2 lemons from Tesco's.
Lemons?
Yeah.
But, I mean, I did not steal the lemons from Tesco's.
You did?
I just forgot to pay for them.
Oh,
which is not the same thing.
I'm awfully sorry.
And actually, the next time I went back there, I went and talked to somebody about it, and I said, by the way, I think the last time I was here, I walked out with 2 of your lemons without paying for them. Do you want me to do anything about that? Yeah. And the guy said, oh, don't worry about it.
No, just an oversight, eh?
Yeah, just an oversight.
Yeah, that's what you say.
Have you any idea how much stuff goes missing on any given year out of any Tesco's or Sainsbury's or Lidl's or Morrison's?
Well, it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right.
But people walk out with stuff all the time because of this self-service nonsense that people get involved in.
Yeah. Listen, talking about lorries, by the way, talking about my mate Tony, who's in charge of dispatch.
Here's one from Old Man Gooner. Browns of Chester is just a run-of-the-mill department store. Andy says, Porky, you chew, Browns is just like Debenhams and nothing like Harrods.
Don't be ridiculous.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Of course I know what I'm talking about.
Roy says, star player of Browns of Chester. What utter dross. Yeah? More like a clogger for the Army and Navy store.
Oh, that's very nice,
isn't it? It's typical of you to try and big up the place that you played for.
No,
it was just an ordinary department store.
It wasn't.
It's not even Selfridges, never mind Harrods.
Honestly, it was the store of the northwest of England.
Well, it might well have been, but it's not the Harrods of the north.
Do you know I saw shopping in there once?
Who?
Howard Kendall.
Wow.
Who was then playing for Everton.
Wow.
When I was a kid. I was awestruck. Absolutely awestruck. Yeah,
well,
really
I'm sure he probably lived there, didn't he?
No, he lived on the Wirral somewhere. Anyway, listen, talking about now... So,
by the way, it's 2-0 to Chile now.
2-0 to Chile?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it certainly is. Colombia 0, Chile 2.
Yeah, I've just said that.
I've been to Chile. You been to Chile?
I haven't, no.
Santiago, the capital. Hey?
Have you been to Colombia?
No, I've never been on the old marching powder either.
Well, I did ask you
marching powder, yeah.
I did ask you that question.
Now, Santiago, really nice place, right? That's the capital of Chile.
Yes.
And I've also been up and down, like Chile, because it's a very thin strip of a country.
It is, yeah.
And I've seen the peasants living in their peasant houses.
Have you?
In rural Chile.
They must have been really pleased to see you.
No, honestly, it's fascinating. That was, of course, is where I went into the Atacama Desert.
That's right.
And went into the caves where aliens...
Unfortunately, you came back out again.
Where aliens landed thousands of years ago.
Did you see the paintings?
I saw the paintings.
What did you make of them?
The local cavemen had painted on the walls. They're fantastic, incredible.
Yeah.
They actually show paintings of...
Yeah, I know what they show.
Of men walking around with bubbles on their head, like spacesuits.
What's your explanation for that?
Well, you can't explain really. It's like I've had a few communications from people who are into the parapsychology type business.
Parapsychology.
Yeah,
parapsychology. They should be into.
No, asking me about the weirdest experience of my life when my radio burst into Abide With Me as I was passing Guildford Cathedral the other morning.
I've explained it to you already.
No, it's not.
It's the TP button.
Yeah, it's inexplicable, man. It's inexplicable.
It's completely inexplicable. Brendan says this: I'm listening to you guys at the Glastonbury Festival tonight.
Yes.
Your banter is keeping us awake.
Oh, really?
Give us your best Roy Hodgson, Mike.
I wonder how long it took them to get to the Glastonbury
Probably
Festival.
about 3 days.
No, you know our mate Pete, Pete Abbott,
yes.
great guy and terrific
the voice of Tottenham Hotspur.
Terrific journalist, voice of Tottenham Hotspur during the games at Tottenham.
Not when they're not playing.
Eh?
Not when they're not playing.
Well, yeah, he does the website and everything as well.
No, but he's not the voice on a website, is he?
Oh, yes, he is, yes.
And he speaks on the website?
Yes, he does, yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Absolutely certain, yeah. I don't know why you're putting a colleague down.
I'm not putting him down.
Yeah, he's a terrific guy, Pete.
Well, he's a nice guy, yeah.
Why are you trying to demean him?
I'm not trying to demean him at all.
I think you are. Anyway, so
Pete, unbelievable.
So Pete's on the radio this morning, and he's talking.
How unusual.
Well, exactly, considering he's a newsreader. Yeah. But he's not reading any news. He's sitting in his car where he's been sitting for 8 hours. Yeah. A mile or two away from Glastonbury, and he actually
because it was all flooded, they wouldn't let anybody into the fields.
He actually said, we're pretty close, but we've been pretty close for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Now, I thought he'd be down some country lane, but in fact, I then saw the footage, and these cars have to go through a local village to get to Glastonbury. Yeah. The village is one huge parking lot. Yeah. That's all it is.
Well, have you been to Glastonbury, the actual town of Glastonbury?
No. Why would I want to go there?
Because it's a very, very famous place. I mean, you talk about, strange and unusual happenings.
Yes.
They've got the Glastonbury tour.
I've been there. I've climbed up onto it.
Why haven't you been to the town then?
Well, I didn't know the town was nearby. But
where do you think is near the Glastonbury tour?
Well, I got to the top and I couldn't see a town.
Plank.
No, I didn't.
You couldn't see a town?
No, I couldn't. No, I looked around.
And do you know why it gets flooded there? Because it's Somerset levels and it's very, very, very low.
Yeah, well, you see.
And so the flooding is always very bad.
I think it's a daft place to have
have you never thought of going to the to see the Glastonbury Thorn and all that?
I've just told you, I've been to the Glastonbury Thorn.
Not the Tor, the Thorn.
The Thorn? What's the
Thorn? Is where Jesus of Arimathea is supposed to have planted the thorn.
Well, he's never been to this country, Jesus.
Well, he has, according to the legend.
That's rubbish.
Why didn't you just go into the town?
Feet in ancient time. That's a load of rubbish. You know what that was?
That's a load of rubbish. But you driving past Guildford Cathedral, suddenly hearing some random bolloxio in your head, right? That's not weird.
Do you know that Jerusalem was a song which was actually put together by the Romans as a bit of propaganda?
Propaganda?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
You mean propaganda?
Yeah. To justify them invading Britain. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, because they made out that there was sort of insurgency in this country and that Jesus had been here trying to lead it,
right.
And that's why they came here. But they made up the song. But Jesus has never been to England. It's impossible.
Well, that depends on who you believe.
No, there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever.
There's plenty of evidence.
No. I've spoken.
Where does the thorn come from?
Well, somebody just made that up. Don't you understand?
Why does it flower every Christmas?
Oh, have you got a picture of this thorn being planted by somebody?
No, because there weren't photographs in those days. Unlike when you say, well, nobody had a phone.
Yeah.
There were no photographs in those days, but there is something mystical about it. Here's one from Andy. He says, crikey, Porky tips England. I'm getting in a longboat heading for Reykjavik.
Yeah, well,
I think I might join you, mate.
Well, I tell you what, you can go to worse places. It's a beautiful town, Reykjavik.
Is it?
Mm.
Yeah.
About a guy you wanna love, you wanna cry, you cross your heart and hope to die till it's over. And then
this is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. Got loads and loads of tweets here on the old Harrods of the North front. It says here, Pete, for Browns of Chester, read only fools and horses lock up. And somebody sent a picture. Alex has sent a picture of Debenhams, which it says on very small writing underneath Browns of Chester. So it's not even really known as that. A realist says similar stores to Browns in the northwest were Lewis's and Owen. I sometimes remember Owen for some reason.
Owen was in Northgate Street, and you know what? They used to have like some kind of a tea room or something upstairs, and when they closed on a Monday night, for some unknown reason, they converted it into a disco. And we used to go there on a Monday night, and it was brilliant.
On a Monday?
Oh, it was a pickup joint of enormous proportions.
Really?
Yeah, it really was.
What age were you when you were doing this?
Oh, I don't know, about 18, 19, something like that, yeah.
That's all you ever did, really, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Out of the lash trying to pick up drunk women.
Yes. Well, no, the women didn't have to be drunk. I was usually drunk myself. I usually made up for that. That wasn't a problem. But what was the other one you mentioned? Lewis's.
Lewis's,
Now, there was never a Lewis's in Chester, but there was a Lewis's in Liverpool. And I think it was on the corner of Lime Street, opposite the station.
Really?
Yeah, but I think that's been closed down a few years as well.
And neither of them were the Harrods of the North either.
No. Now, listen, we haven't even talked about the storm.
Yeah, before we do that, I want you to listen to something.
Well, yeah.
Because I think you may not have heard this, and this is the way that an Icelandic commentator enjoyed the final goal by Iceland, which is absolutely tremendous. You might want to learn a little bit of Icelandic, obviously, before the game. Tips old Stan Culliver into a cocked hat, that, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, but to be honest, they're a bit passé now, doing, let's listen to the foreign commentators. Because
what do you mean, passé?
Well,
the reason we do it is because you've never heard an Icelandic commentator doing it, because Iceland have never won anything.
Yeah, but it's all gibberish, because we can't
it's not
understand
gibberish,
Icelandic.
It's Icelandic.
I mean, that...
But you see, that is terribly jingoistic of you to say gibberish. Why is it gibberish? Well, because you don't understand Icelandic. You've been to Iceland, you're always talking about how many times you've been there,
I have.
how you love Iceland.
Stayed in the Borg Hotel.
Do you know any Icelandic?
As in Bjornborg.
Who?
He owned a bit of it. The Borg Hotel.
Bjornborg,
yeah.
He's from Sweden, isn't he?
He's from Sweden, yeah, but it's like they're very Scandinavian-ish.
Well, they're not in Scandinavia, though.
No, but they all got invaded by the Vikings, so they brought their influences there.
So do you know any Icelandic?
No, because all Icelandic people speak perfect English, so there's no reason at all for me to learn Icelandic.
You're just so discourteous to them. You wouldn't actually think of learning some of their words.
No. But what I was going to say is about that, let's listen to this crazy old foreign commentator, spouting all this gibberish.
That's not what I said.
And actually,
when did I say, let's listen to this crazy old commentator spouting a load of foreign gibberish?
Well, that's what you meant.
No, that's not what I meant.
And actually, if you remember, this all started like 35, 40 years ago when we first started picking up commentary from South America, and the first guy ever to go
So it's only passé when somebody else is doing it. Is that what you mean? So it's all right when you're doing it.
No, what I'm saying is it's no longer a surprise anymore to hear some crazy old commentator from some foreign country going mad. Because...
Well, I'm sorry. I think you got totally the wrong end of the stick here.
No.
The reason we're listening to that is, I thought you were going to remind us of the Norwegian guy who did the was it Danish? Maggie Thatcher and that whole thing.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah.
But, I mean,
we'll give you a hell of a beating.
Yeah, and all of that.
Maggie Thatcher, Winston Churchill.
Yeah, as you say, it's passé except when you do it.
Lord
the point
Nelson.
is that we did not play that as a kind of a further exposition of crazy old commentators talking in foreign, as you put it.
Yes.
I did it because this is the first time Iceland have ever not only got to a Euros final,
it's
the first time they've won through to a knockout stage of anything like this.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought we'd hear it.
Yeah, well, thank you.
I'm sorry that you find it passé.
No, thank you. It's good of you to play it to me.
You might find it even more passé if they beat England.
I found it rather boring, actually.
Did you? Yeah,
anyway.
well, you find everything boring that doesn't involve you.
Sorry?
You find everything boring doesn't involve you.
Well, I hope it doesn't mean that England beat, obviously. But you have to say, I'm told by my people on the inside that Roy Hodgson is breathing a huge sigh of relief because he believes that he can put a team together far more able to beat Iceland than to beat Portugal.
Yeah, but you see, the funny thing is that all of these various theories are all fine and dandy until the actual day of the game, because have we not been hearing for the last 3 days that what England want to do is play one of the better teams because they'll attack them more and they won't sit back behind the ball.
Yes, I know.
And as we know, that's what Iceland have been doing, and that's how they've been winning games, because they've been giving away, 72%, 73% possession of everybody they've been playing.
They have.
So they will play pretty much like Slovakia.
Yes, they have. But
and those are the teams that Roy says he doesn't want to play.
Yeah, but in the end, good teams beat bad teams, and so it doesn't matter how many men you put behind the ball and all that kind of stuff. Now, we can talk about that a bit later. I want to talk to you about the storm. The storm has been amazing. In fact, our satellite signal in this very studio we're in now has just been knocked out by a lightning strike and it's just come back. Now, that happened to me at Chez Parry earlier on this evening.
Well, all your lights went out.
Well, no. I'll tell you what happened. I heard a rumble in the street. And what that normally means is it means somebody is moving one of their wheelie bins.
Oh, yeah.
But then I thought, hang on, no.
They're very big wheelie bins.
Yeah, they are. They're quite tall things, yeah. And then I thought, no.
As far as you can hear it up so high up in your penthouse.
Well, it filters up, of course, to my roof garden, and then it comes in through the windows.
It's only 5 floors, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It is. Yeah, and it comes in through the windows. Anyway, so I went go to the window to sort of find out who's messing around with the wheelie bin at this time of night, and I saw the first flash, and believe me, it lit up the world. I mean, it was forked lightning.
Forked lightning.
You know, like you speak with forked tongue.
Yeah.
Well, that was forked lightning. Now, the first thing I do then, whenever
have you got a lightning conductor on your roof garden, because you might need that.
Well, we've got one on the building, put it that way. But then the satellite box went out, so I thought, this is real trouble. Yeah. What's the first thing you do when that happens?
You switch it off again.
No, what's the first thing you do in a domestic dwelling when you know there's lightning about? Do you know what it is?
No, I don't know. What do you do?
You go and unplug your electric kettle.
What?
Your electric kettle can blow up.
Why?
In the middle of a storm, a lightning storm.
Well, I told you my router got zapped by lightning, didn't I?
Well, there you go.
Sussex.
There you go.
But my kettle didn't.
Oh, the first thing you should do. My mum told me this years ago.
Yeah, well, that's back in the 50s.
No, it wasn't back in the 50s.
What you should actually do, if you haven't got a surge protector, is to remove all of your computer equipment from the...
well,
did you do that?
No. She said that the worst thing that will happen, it can happen, is your kettle will blow up in the kitchen.
That was the worst thing that could happen. It was about the only electric thing you had.
Yeah, so
But now the worst thing that can happen is that your computer will be zapped and everything will be wiped from it.
How would that happen?
Well, but for the same reason it would attack your kettle, because if it was to, if the electric current was to be attacked, and you didn't have a surge protection, it basically surges the electricity.
How do you know if you've got a surge protection?
Well, you've either bought one when you bought your computer or you didn't.
Well, where is it? Where does it fit on?
Well, it normally comes between the plug and the computer.
The plug? Have you got one?
So you would plug the computer into the...
And have you got one?
No, because I don't leave my computer plugged in.
Ah, why not?
Because it's a laptop.
Yeah, so is mine.
Yeah, but I don't leave it plugged in permanently.
Ah, no then.
You shouldn't leave it plugged in permanently. It's not good for it.
Well, I hope there's no more lightning overnight. Might get home to find my computer's blown up.
Yeah.
But as long as my kettle doesn't blow up, it doesn't matter. You can get a new computer.
Your kettle won't blow up.
No problem.
Your kettle is now much better protected than it was in those days.
No. Believe me, I know these things.
No, you don't.
The biggest problem in any house...
You are locked in a period of time about 58 years ago.
In any household is that your kettle will blow up when there's a storm. Now, listen, I've got to tell you something.
Has your kettle ever blown up in a storm?
No, I've always protected it. Right. I always switch it off as soon as electricity. I rush into the kitchen, I unplug the kettle. What's your problem?
What a plague.
No. It's
you don't need to do that.
It's a domestic policy. Don't worry about it.
Really?
Now then, what I was going to say to you was...
we've got a break, actually. We haven't got time.
OK, I'll tell you in a minute, because it's very important.
We've got a big guest coming up, James O'Connor. He used to play for the Republic of Ireland under-21s. He's going to tell us how happy he is about the victory over there, of course, in Lille.
I'm looking forward to that.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to go down to Glastonbury and find out what's going on down there, because it's been very muddy and very, very wet, and people have been hanging around for hours and hours and hours. It all gets underway a little bit later on today. Right now, though, we're going to talk to James O'Connor, a former Ireland under-21 player, because the entire nation of Ireland, and I don't just mean in Ireland, I mean the global nation of Ireland, which is truly global, is celebrating tonight, because Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane have done what a lot of people doubted they could do, and get them into the last 16. James, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning, lads. How are you doing?
Yeah,
very well indeed.
Very well indeed. Where were you at the moment the goal went in? Because that'll be the question a lot of people ask you, James, I think, in the future.
Yeah, I was sitting at home with my head in my hands, because when Wes missed that chance, I thought we were done. I was thinking, oh, well, there we go. And then a couple of minutes later, he put in a phenomenal ball and we scored. So it was great, really pleasing.
Yeah, I mean, because you would never have thought that after he missed that chance, Wes Houlihan, that I mean, what's 5 minutes to go? You miss a chance like that, you just don't get another one, do you?
Especially against the Italians, that was the thing. I mean, when he's going through, I mean, you jump up thinking, okay, he's gonna hit the net, and he missed, and it was, I mean, I won't lie to you, I gave the coffee table a good boot, because I thought, oh well, there goes that, So it was one of them magical moments where he produced that bit of quality and scored. I mean, incredible moment.
It certainly was. Now, James, tell me this. The performance tonight from Ireland, how much do you think the influence of Roy Keane was exhibited in the way the team played? Because Roy Keane said, you've got to get in there, you've got to put your head where it hurts, put your boots where it hurts, you might have to take one for the team. Basically, he was asking for the boys to show more backbone. Do you think they were listening to him?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the way the game went, I thought from the first whistle we got at them, and we tried to actually stamp a little bit of authority on the game. We were pushing and pushing and pushing. I mean, we didn't have a whole lot of opportunities, but the intensity was definitely there. You could see from the first whistle there was a real desire to go and get at them and have a real challenge. And I think great credit to them for that. And the fight that they showed at the end was, as I say, most. And in fairness to Wes, he deserves a lot of credit as well, because most players would have been still sitting thinking about that miss, and they wouldn't have had the mindset to be able to go and react the way he did. So he deserves enormous credit, as do all the players and the coaching staff. Incredible achievement.
Yeah, it was incredible achievement, and very well deserved, not least because of all the effort that they put in, but also because the previous game had been such a disappointment, hadn't it, against Belgium?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was it. I mean, when you look at the way the Belgian game went, there was a distinct sort of difference between the quality in both teams, and I think that's probably why Roy Keane came out and said what he said, he probably felt as if maybe there needed to be a bit more fight than there was in that Belgium game. It was almost like an acceptance in the Belgium game that, well, they're better than us, whereas you didn't get that today. You certainly saw a lot more fight and a lot more desire to really go and have a real go trying to win the game. And I'm delighted not only for the team but for everyone back home, because it means so much to everyone. I really do.
I totally agree with James. Now, I watched the game intently. In my view, the man of the match was Seamus Coleman. He was captain for the night. I thought he was an absolute stalwart of the defence, as well as giving you attacking options. That boy really is some player, is he not?
He is. I mean, he's actually. It's funny you mention him, because he came to Burnley on trial when I was still there, and he was at Sligo at the time. And
is that right?
The first day he hurt his, and he ended up missing out, and he ended up then going back, and then he's literally, within I think probably 6-8 weeks later, he ended up signing for Everton. So,
yes.
I mean, if you look at the game today, I think literally within the first minute he goes and he gets right in against their left wing back. He tackles him pretty hard within the first sort of minute. That sets the tone then. He was looking at to be booked, but even then you could see there was an intensity to his play.
Oh yes, there was. Well, of course, Porky's only saying this, James, because he happens to play for Everton, which happens to be Porky's team. If he didn't play for Everton, he would not be the man of the match. Trust me.
No.
He's only been going on about one player in this tournament so far, because no Everton players can get in the England team. So he's been going on about Lukaku all week.
That's a bit harsh.
Now, the other thing I wanted to raise with you, James, because I don't know whether you've ever played against a team quite as dirty as this Italian team, but I mean, some of the stuff that they were getting up to, it seems as though they've perfected the art of clipping the heels of a guy, as long as they're standing in the way of the guy and the referee, so the referee can't actually see them do it.
Well, I mean, it's funny because, I speak to our lads about it on corners. If you watch how they defend set pieces, they wrap their hands around the attacker and then they end up both on the ground, and then for some reason the referee decides not to give anything.
Right.
It's something they're exceptional at. You look at the way they do it from the majority of the set pieces. They wrap the attackers up. They manage to foul them and then not get caught. It's exceptional. Great credit to them for it, but it's very frustrating when you're playing against them.
Very frustrating, and of course Ireland should have had a penalty as well, shouldn't they?
For me it was a definite penalty. I think the referee you could see he hesitated, and then I felt as if he wanted to give it, but he left it too long then. And the issue you have there is the guy who stood behind the goal, if he's the fifth official or whatever he is, he should be trying to help the referee then and saying, look, yes, it's a penalty, because they're all mic'd up, and that's the piece that you come away with a little bit of disappointment with as well,
Yeah, absolutely right. So France coming up next, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I suppose after that game you can have a great deal of belief that almost anything is possible, but, the French went into this tournament as favourites. I'm not sure if they still are, but that is going to be some game, isn't it?
Oh yeah, listen, this is a game that the whole of Ireland has been waiting for since that handball with Henry. This is a game that you rest assured all of those players are going to be well and truly fired up. Not only because it's such a big game, but because of what happened the last time. That still sits with everyone in Ireland. The fact that we missed out on that because of the handball. So that's going to be an exceptional game. It really is. I think it'll be great atmosphere. There'll be plane loads of Irish people going over for us. There's already a lot there, but I think half the country will end up over there now after that today.
Indeed. Well, listen, wish you the best of luck, really, James, because it was the most unlikely of victories, and those most unlikely of victories are the sweetest. Just as I thought you were going down, you've revived. Martin O'Neill got a new contract before the championship started, James.
That looks like quite a clever move now.
Well, I was about to say, many people thought that was a bit presumptuous, particularly after
and you were one of them.
After your second game, your group game, but you pulled it out the bag, so Martin O'Neill will return as a hero whatever happens now, won't he?
He will, and I think, in fairness, when you look at the job both him and Roy Keane have done, I think there's definitely been an impact since their arrival. I think when you look at how they've developed and come through the qualifying, because don't forget, we were in a very tough group as well with Germany and Poland. So the lads, they've done well, and I think there's a lot of feel good factor around the camp now, so hopefully we can build off that and make use of this momentum that we have.
Indeed.
Yeah. And you were saying about the fans. Lyon's going to be very, very green, I guess, on the on Sunday night when they play France. But of course, a lot of the fans had already said, even if Ireland were going to go out last night, they decided they were going to hang around and just watch the football for a while anyway. It's been a fantastic tournament for the fans, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the Irish supporters, I mean, you look at all the on social media, all the different posts where they've been helping people, and I think that there's a real friendliness to the Irish supporters. They love to go and support the boys in green, and they love to have a good time as well. So now that we've got through, I think there'll be even more people who go over and we'll celebrate the team's achievements. So hopefully we can go and get a good result against France and continue to run.
And what do you reckon about some of the other teams left in? I mean, it's last 16. I mean, it's not that many have got out, actually, but 8 teams have now left the stadiums, as it were. Who do you like to look up to actually win it?
Yeah, great question. I think when you look at Belgium, I think the quality that they have in their squad, I think they've got such a strength in depth. I think when you look at the players that are there, I think if they can get a little bit of momentum, I think they're going to be a threat. A lot of people will look at some of the other teams, France obviously being hosts, but I haven't been too impressed with the way the French have actually played. I think there's a nervousness to their play, and I'm quietly confident Ireland can go and get a result against France. I really am.
Mm-hmm. Excellent stuff.
Yeah.
Well, listen, James, I don't know if you're going to head over there, but good luck with it all, and we'll be doing it all live right here, of course, on TalkSport. James O'Connor, former under-21 Ireland international, of course, still playing for Walsall over here in this country. There's lots more for us to talk about.
And James was very complimentary to you. You asked him the question, who do you think's going to win the competition now? And he said, great question.
And as it was a great question, I know. It only just came to me. Now, I should tell you that we're getting loads and loads of tweets and texts from people who are seeing lightning hitting buildings. I've got a couple of pictures of a massive flood up in Rains Park.
Amazing.
The signal's gone out a couple of times here again. It's still 2-0 to Chile against Colombia.
And who warned you about this terrible weather condition? I did.
Nobody warned me.
I did.
You told me.
You weren't even concentrating on it.
You told me there was a storm after I'd driven in through a storm.
Yeah.
That's not the same as telling somebody about it.
Yeah, but you didn't seem to have any information for me on how serious it was. I had to tell you everything, as usual.
Well, do you want me to give you a little sort of briefing note on every single thing that happens in the world of weather? Would you like that?
It's just that
what I did tell you was to not worry about jumping up and unplugging your kettle.
As our job is to communicate, with millions of people around the world, I think you should be a bit more informative, that's all.
OK, well, if you'd like me to give you more information, I'd be more than happy to do so.
No, I'm not worried about...
I shall produce the Porky Brief, which I will give you every night when you come in. Slightly later than I do. And I will be more than happy to inform you about any number of things that are going on in the world.
I'm not worried about me having information. I've got plenty of it. In fact, I've got more information than anybody on Earth.
Your information is wrong,
but it's to our millions of listeners that you deserve to impart information to, and I don't think you do enough of it.
I think you're just rambling now.
No, not at all.
You only sleep today?
Yeah, of course I have. Yeah, no problem at all.
When did you sleep?
Well, that's a question that doesn't need an answer, really.
I want the information to give to our millions of listeners. Surely they deserve to be told.
No, they don't need to know that. All they need to know is that I turn up here bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Is that it? Yeah?
No, you don't.
And
you turn up here usually in a state of, complete and utter dereliction of duty.
No, not at all.
This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to be talking to a man that knows an awful lot about going to Glastonbury, because I know some of you are out there actually listening in Glastonbury, where if there's still a massive thunderstorm going on, by the way, it can't be very pleasant being in a tent waiting for the inevitable onslaught of a load of water.
Indeed.
The professor says this at the two mics: the next time we have a storm, I will forget about the computers and the televisions, but run into the kitchen to turn off the kettle.
Yeah, do that. Do that, please. Unplug your kettle.
Paul says this: why is Roy Keane suddenly a hero and not a puppet? Hashtag two-faced Porky.
No, not at all. What I did was I questioned his role within the setup in Ireland. He has proved that he is an essential part of it.
I think you did more than question it.
No.
Even Mr. Brazil, as you refer to him, was asking you this morning, yesterday morning on the Sports Breakfast, was doing the pay-per review. Why are you always sticking it to Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane?
No, I'm not.
He said you've been doing it all through the tournament.
No, I don't think so.
That's what he said.
No.
Well, are you denying that? That's what he said to you.
I didn't hear I'll say that, I have to say. No. I mean, I'm very busy when I'm reviewing the papers. I don't have time to take in everything that everybody else is saying. You see what I mean?
It's half-time in the Chile game.
Chile?
Still 2-0 to Chile against Colombia.
Why do you call it Chile?
Chile is how you pronounce it.
No, it's not. It's Chile.
I pronounce it Chile.
Chile?
Yeah.
No, it's Chile.
Well, I pronounce it Chile.
Well, I don't know how you can pronounce it Chile.
I mean,
it's not spelled Chileh.
considering how you pronounce everything, I don't think you can really teach me anything about pronunciation.
Well, I think
Michael says this, amazing how Porky always finds the angle to speak about Everton.
Mm-hmm. Well, hang on, all I pointed out was that the captain of the Irish team that had such a magnificent victory last night happened to be Seamus Coleman.
Well, why did you make him man of the match?
Because he was very, very good.
Was he actually man of the match?
Well, I think he was man of the match.
No, I know you think that, but was he made man of the match?
I think you'll find that young Brady was made man of the match because he scored the very late goal.
Yeah.
But that's only because he scored the goal. I think for overall 90-minute commitment, I think you'll find that Seamus Coleman will have got the vote.
OK. On the Storm front, Michelle says the storm is still bad in Surrey, Porky. My Skybox has lost signal for over an hour.
Well, blimey, that's terrible. That's
James
shocking.
says thunderstorms are now in Barnet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is all good information that you want me to give to
yes,
people.
Yes, please.
Right?
Yeah.
Here's one from somebody calling himself PF who says, just saw the thunder hit a building twice through my flat.
God, blimey. This sounds terrible. And see, the thing is, we're in the, we're wrapped up here in TalkSport Towers.
Yeah.
And we're elevated. We're in a tower here, but we are surrounded by so many walls and windows and electronic equipment.
Luckily, there's a door as well.
Yeah, there's a door. So we're removed a little bit from what's happening in the outside world. That's all I would say.
Well, I'm going to go check it out shortly because we're coming up to the top
Good
of the
idea.
hour. Here's one from Steve who says, no, Porky, the first thing you do in a storm is find a tree and stand under it.
No, you don't.
I think he's trying to give you bad advice there.
I tell you what, tragically, and this is very, very serious, I think the footballer's name was Cliff White, who in the 60s was playing golf.
A lot of people got struck by lightning in those days.
He was a member of the Spurs double winning team of 62, 61. And he sheltered under a tree, and I remember the headlines were front page headlines, all the papers. The tree was struck by lightning and it went through the floor and it killed him, sadly.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Amazing
terrible
picture,
business.
by the way. They're just panning around outside of the game between Chile and the Copa America
Chile?
Centenario. I think it's in New York, or it must be in New Jersey, maybe in the Red Bull Stadium.
Yeah.
Extraordinary stuff. See the Manhattan skyline in the background. I think that's where it is anyway.
It is,
Loads more to come. Time for the news. Coming up a little bit later on in this hour, Nick Harcourt's going to join us. He's a music expert, of course. He's going to be talking to us about Glastonbury, which seems to be particularly muddy and ghastly this year. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Roy says this. Once again, MG is correct. It is pronounced Chile, not chilly, like you're cold. The Plank's pronunciation is appalling, he says. And Matt also says it's pronounced Chile.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Right, OK.
So you're incorrect once again.
Well, I don't think I am, but there we go.
Well, you are, because these are people who are experts in these things.
Now, listen, let me tell you something. This is really good, right? Now, the romance between Tom Hiddleston, who is probably going to be the next James Bond, we think, we don't know.
And Taylor Swift. You seem a bit obsessed with this particular romance.
Well, the thing is, I'm trying to work out whether it's a huge publicity stunt to big up Tom Hiddleston, right?
Really?
In his bid to become the next James Bond or not. There's 10 years difference between them. He climbs aboard her private jet.
He climbs aboard her?
I said climbed aboard her private jet.
Yeah, but there was an unfortunate pause.
No, there wasn't. It's just your filthy, mucky mind.
Not at all.
Anyway, and what happens is they end up in Nashville. It's a strange place to end up.
now?
Yeah, Nashville, Tennessee.
Because you were telling us the other day that he'd jumped on her private jet and flown back from Europe to the US, no?
To Rhode Island.
To Rhode Island.
And now they're in Nashville.
All right, is she on a tour or something?
Nashville's great, isn't it?
It
Help
is.
me information.
That's
Get
Memphis.
me Nashville. Oh, yeah,
That's
that's
Memphis.
right, Memphis, Tennessee, yeah. But Nashville's in Tennessee, isn't it?
Nashville is in Tennessee.
It is, right.
As is Memphis, yeah.
That's it. Now, listen, I've come across something here which makes me think there is a plot afoot to make him James Bond. Right?
Go on.
He has had his picture taken by a guy called Mona Coon, right?
Right. Is this the underwear picture?
With his in his underpants.
Yeah.
In his underpants.
Yeah.
Now, you don't get anywhere in life now unless you have been pictured in your underpants.
Very true.
So, for instance, you know, the...
But he was in, was he not? He was in the sun, I think, the other day in his underpants.
That's right, yeah.
Are these the same underpants?
These are the same.
Are these different underpants?
No, this is for W Magazine, do you see what I mean? And now what the W Magazine have done is they've sort of, pushed the pictures out, and now they're getting it. Now, David Beckham admits that he got catapulted to fame following his underpants advert with, was it Calvin Klein?
I'm not sure if it was Calvin Klein.
Is it Calvin Klein or somebody?
I don't think it was Calvin Klein, but I know the picture. I can see the picture.
H&M.
I know
David
the one you
Beckham
mean.
was H&M, wasn't
Was
it? H&M, I think.
Could be, yeah. Could
be. David Gandy, right?
Yes.
By the way, I wear only David Gandy underwear these days.
What?
Yes,
That
David
is
Gandy.
way too much information.
Well, yeah, probably is,
You
actually.
sure you don't wear Mahatma Gandhi underwear?
Mahatma Gandhi, yeah. No,
it's more likely to be a sort of... what do they call those things? There's a name for them, isn't there?
Hipsters.
No. What Mahatma Gandhi used to wear.
Mahatma
a dhoti.
Gandhi,
He used to wear a dhoti.
A dhoti? What, the robe?
A dhoti, it's the thing that you wrap around your waist and it kind of goes underneath your genitalia.
Oh, I see.
And then you tie it up around the back.
Well, that's too much information as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is, I reckon...
How much does David Gandy's underwear cost, then?
Well, they come in black boxes.
Pretty sure you don't get it from BHS, do you?
No, I get it from Marks and Spencers.
Do you?
Yeah, they have the full range
really?
there. Yeah, the full range. I bought 6 boxes of it the other day.
Boxes? What size?
Usual size, sort of X.
Extra small.
No. What are you on about? Honestly, do you have to be so smutty?
I don't know.
It's a family show, isn't it?
You won't tell me what size you are.
No, what I'm saying is, I think until you've posed in your undercrackers, you're not actually a superstar, right?
Yeah.
Beckham, David Gandy. This guy, this guy she used to go out with. Is that Kelvin? No, is that Calvin Harris?
Calvin Harris, yeah.
Is that who she used to go out with?
That's him, yeah.
But I thought he's only a DJ.
Well, when you say only a DJ,
yeah.
I mean, he's one of the biggest superstars of the world of music, okay? Calvin Harris
but he's a DJ.
He has had more...
You spin a few discs, that's all you do.
No, he does not spin discs. He creates sound by a variety of means. Much of it's done on a laptop computer.
Anyway...
Much of it... What do you mean, anyway? I'm just explaining to you why he's such a superstar, right?
Okay.
He has had more top 10 hits at the same time.
But DJs don't sing, they just spin records.
Than the Beatles.
Oh, rubbish. Don't be ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous.
I'm not joking.
Anyway, the point of my story
is... What is the point of your story?
Because I'm putting all the facts together here, and you'll understand now what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, right.
The Calvin Harris, the guy she used to go out with, had his picture taken in a pair of Emporio Armani underpants.
And he looks a long way from the boy that sort of grew up in the borders of Scotland, does he not?
On Glasgow. So what I'm saying is...
Apparently he's from Dumfries, actually.
Oh, Dumfries.
Yeah. I used to think he was from Dundee.
Dancing in the streets of Dumfries.
But he was, apparently he's from Dumfries.
So what I'm saying is, I think the road to superstardom
Are you saying you're going to be your next move?
No, it's not going to be my next move.
Because, I mean, you are, as you've often admitted, you are on the upward kind of curve towards superstardom, are you not?
No.
You are.
No.
I think you are.
I would never try to impose upon the world a picture of me in my undercrackers because I don't think they're ready for it.
God for that.
Absolutely. But what I'm saying is, isn't it amazing that Tom Hiddleston has suddenly had his picture taken in a pair of his underpants because... that was a road to stardom for David Beckham, for this guy Calvin Harris, for anybody now who is literally superstar male. You've got to have had your picture taken in a pair of underpants. And Tom Hiddleston's just joined them. Idris Elba should do the same.
He probably
Idris Elba's losing the race to become James Bond, and I think he'd make a great James Bond. I think he should get going.
But you don't often see James Bond in his underpants, do you, in a movie?
No, you don't.
Normally, I mean, you can see him sort of stripped to the waist. Daniel Craig famously coming out of the water.
In the Budgie Smugglers. That's right, absolutely.
But nobody really often sees him in their underpants. But, I mean, you wonder about somebody like Tom Hiddleston, who comes from that, as you regard it, top people's school, went off to Cambridge or wherever he went.
Rower in the boat race for Cambridge.
In the boat race, I mean, why is he becoming so commercialised?
I don't know. Well, this is what I'm saying.
Why is he deciding to flout himself in such a way?
This is what I'm saying.
There's a picture of them holding hands in the paper this morning outside this concert in Nashville.
That's right, absolutely.
Doesn't say whether it's her concert.
No.
Fine-looking couple.
No, it wasn't her concert. It was some dancer, something like that. Yeah. Well, I mean, she's a lovely-looking girl.
Maybe it was a hoedown.
Yeah. Now, apparently,
in Nashville.
Apparently, these undercrackers in which Tom Hiddleston's been pictured. 100% white cotton, £33 boxers by New York label Special Delivery.
Special delivery?
Yeah.
33 quid?
Yeah, 33 quid.
That's a bit ridiculous, isn't it?
Well, that's not over expensive, is it?
What, for a pair of underpants?
What?
For a pair of underpants?
I don't know, I suppose so. I don't know how much mine costs, because...
You don't know why? Why don't you know how much they cost?
I paid for them on a card, and I never look at the bills.
You never look at the bills?
Not really. Well, you don't,
incredible.
do you?
Well, a man of the people. Of course you do.
No, you don't.
You make sure they haven't ripped you off, for a start.
Oh, well, they don't rip you off at Marks and Spencer's. That's a great thing about this
you
country.
Don't look at the bill.
We're the least corrupt country in the world.
Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not sure about that.
I would... well, I told you what happened when I went to Russia and bought a couple of bottles of wine, got charged 850 quid because they charged me in rubles.
And that's because you didn't check the bill?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't matter if I'd checked the bill or not. You can't interpret the amount of rubles that are in a pound anyway.
Why not?
Well, you can't.
You don't know the exchange rate?
No, I don't know the exchange rate.
Well, you should. An update from Alex here on the baseball. San Francisco Giants 4, Pittsburgh Pirates 6, bottom of the fifth
Nobody
inning.
cares.
Yes, they do. And lots of other things have come through. Gemma has sent a picture of a fire, a kettle on fire, in fact, and says, tell Porky to get home quick. Your kettle's on fire.
Yeah, it could be, I'll tell you.
And Anders says, men of the match were clearly Robbie, Brady and Hendrick. Sorry, I don't know his first name.
Jimmy?
I don't think it was Jimmy
Sorry,
Hendrick.
that was a joke.
Yeah, no, I know it was. And here's one from Ernie. There's no fooling you, Porky. Tom Hiddleston and Taylor Swift may be a publicity stunt. You plank. I don't think he believes you.
Well, you know.
Aidan says, Calvin Harris made 39 million quid last year. Not bad for a DJ.
Did he, really?
No, this guy's a superstar.
Well, see, I don't understand this. Her breakup with Scottish DJ Calvin Harris. He's described as a Scottish DJ.
Yeah, but he's not.
So, for all I know, he might be on Radio Tartan or something, you know what I mean?
Radio Tartan.
Spinning a few discs or something like that.
That's not what he does.
You know?
He has concerts in stadiums, this guy.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You really need to get with the programme. We're going to talk about Glastonbury coming up shortly. You need to know a bit more about music.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Mr. Harcourt is going to consider you to be a complete and utter ignoramus.
And who's Mr. Harcourt?
He's our expert coming on to talk about Glastonbury.
What time's he coming on?
Very shortly.
Oh, is he? Oh, great. Well, I'll enjoy talking to him about that.
Yeah, good.
I want to talk to him about the mentality of somebody who literally... Have you seen all the pictures that we're going to be looking at in tomorrow morning's papers?
Yeah, very muddy.
I mean, and I had to go today on a couple of tweets. I'm sorry, but if you want to wallow around in mud and filth and, you know, with thousands of other unwashed people... then there's something wrong with you. I'm sorry, you're not normal.
Yeah, I saw a video actually earlier on today, or yesterday, of a little sort of what looked like quite not a particularly big puddle.
Yeah.
But a guy was just literally diving into the water,
right,
into the mud, and sort of flipping in and out of it like a fish,
like a bog snorkeler.
Yeah, incredible, absolutely amazing.
You know,
we're just too old for that stuff.
You know,
time, by the way.
You know, just don't worry about the time. Boris Johnson bought those water cannons, didn't he, from the Germans? Remember, it was quite controversial.
Now he's not in charge anymore.
He's not in charge anymore, but he's still got the water cannons. You know what they should do?
What?
Should take those water cannons to Glastonbury and then spray all these filthy people who are encased in mud with the water cannons.
Well, then you create more mud.
No, as a gesture to trying to keep them clean, because otherwise it's, you know, I just don't get it. I just go, you know, I love Pete Abbott a bit, our colleague here, but why he subjects himself to that sort of torment, I've no idea.
You're suggesting he's one of the filthy people.
No.
Pretty unfair, I think.
No. Pete, because I know him personally, is one of the washed. But Glastonbury is full of hundreds of thousands of the great unwashed, and I don't get it.
OK. Becky says this, does this now mean we need to see Porky in his underpants so he can, quote, get somewhere? Perish the thought.
Well, no, I've already said that won't happen.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Porkyvision coming up a little bit later on. I don't know if you want to give any kind of hint as to what sorts of subjects you'll be covering in that, or whether you want to leave that to...
No, leave that till later.
People's imagination. I've been informed, by the way, on Twitter that the game between Chile and Colombia has also been interrupted for a bad weather problem.
Chile and Colombia?
Yeah. And also, I believe the Ireland-France game...
On the other side of the world?
The Ireland-Italy game, rather, was also... would have been interrupted by bad weather, because they had a big storm alert down there, because I think all of this bad weather's coming from France.
Oh, is it?
And they had to close the roof of the stadium, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Which is what made it very clammy.
I tell you what, France as a nation, apart from holding these Euro Championships, are not contributing very much to the goodness of Europe at the moment, with strikes and...
No. Mind you, the old
Southern
Rail strike's still going on, isn't it? I know you keep saying it's not a strike, but I heard on the radio this morning there's more problems with the trains and
I think if
not enough people out there.
I think I read I think it was the London Evening Standard, when would I have had a copy of that? Either yesterday or today or something, that the guy who runs that is on 2.3 million a year.
Yeah,
I mean, the mind boggles, honestly. The rewards for incompetence in this country are out of sync with anywhere else in the world. If you're no good in this country and you get the boot, you get loads of money. You get loads of money for being incompetent.
Well,
it's a ridiculous
It's not
system.
the only place where that happens. Now, here's a good update for people on the weather front. James says the Blackwall Tunnel has now been closed due to storm flooding. and the storm was meant to last in London until 5 a.m.
What's been closed? The Channel Tunnel?
No, the Blackwall Tunnel.
Oh, the Blackwall Tunnel, right. Okay.
Yeah, which is not quite the Channel Tunnel.
No,
it's
but
on the way to the Channel Tunnel.
Well, not only that, but I tell you something, it causes more chaos when it's closed than the Channel Tunnel does.
Yeah.
You can get across the channel on a ferry. You can't get over the Blackwall Tunnel in a ferry.
Craig says, I fancy a Porky quiz on Calvin Harris this week. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Or just as bad as any other subject. We're actually doing one on European music, though,
we
aren't we?
No, we're not. Can I make this absolutely clear?
European music.
It's European bands who have arrived in the English pop charts, okay?
Yeah, well, it's European music.
No, because if I leave you that very broad-ranging description of European music, you start asking me about, the concert in which Mozart performed, his C minor symphony or something like that. Yeah.
I don't know if he did a C minor symphony.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Porky's starting to worry me greatly, says Neil. He obviously has some obsessive, compulsive, unhealthy interest in Tom Hiddleston and Martin O'Neill. Mm-hmm. Is that true?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm fascinated by the way people's lives are constantly being sort of reinvented and updated and all that kind of stuff.
Now, apparently, I was incorrect to say that was the Manhattan skyline because it was it's Soldier Field. They're playing the Chile game in.
Yes.
So of course that would be another city in America, wouldn't it?
Sorry, what's that?
Soldier Field. You know.
Soldier Field is.
Where is that?
Soldier Field is. No, I don't actually. Is it Philadelphia?
No, it's Chicago.
Chicago, of course it is. Yes,
where the Bears play.
O'Hare.
Dee says this. Yes, spraying water in muddy fields is the way to wash away the mud. Mm-hmm. Only on Planet Porky.
Yeah.
Does he put fires out with petrol?
Yes. Well, I know what you mean. Now, listen. What did you just say there? He said something about.
What did I just say?
Mud and blood and all that kind of stuff. Right.
Well, no, this was somebody who said it's a bad idea to blast water from a water cannon at people who are already muddy in a very muddy field.
Well,
because they'll get more muddy.
You say that. Can I just say to you something?
Yeah.
Near where I live in Surrey, right? Yeah. What happened was.
Is this today?
Well, it's happened over the last few days and last few weeks. They built an eco-village, right? Oh, yeah. So this eco-village...
What is an eco-village?
Well, I'm about to tell you. Yeah. And I went to look at one once, and I thought, who in their right mind would move into this place? So what they do is they built these houses out of wood, like sustainable wood.
Sheds.
Eh? Yeah, yeah. And they all had wood-burning wooden stoves.
That's a bit dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Build a house with wood and then put a wood-burning stove in.
That's right, yeah.
That doesn't sound like a good idea.
Then what happens is everything that's burnt in the house then goes into, like, a machine in the roof, which what it actually does is it recycles the excess gases, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And then when eventually they hit the atmosphere, they're pure air.
Is this like, that place, is it Poundbury, where the Prince of Wales
built all these houses? No, it's much worse than Poundbury. No, it's much worse.
Which I've driven past a few times. Yeah. It's pretty hideous, actually.
Yeah, well, that was ecologically sort of, considerate. This is ridiculous. Everyone's got a windmill on the roof, right?
Yeah.
And, they've got all sorts of mad systems where they recycle, all the sewage and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, they recycle it out.
Well, they just do. I mean, this is it's one of these.
It's all meant to be what they call it, self-sufficient.
Self-sufficient and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, guess what? They have literally been invaded by the biggest rats anybody in this country's ever seen. Plagues of rats.
Plagues of them?
Yeah, and do you know why?
Why?
Because, they have this insistence on all rubbish must be put in this bin and that bin, and so much rubbish lying around all the time.
Oh, yeah.
The rats now find it like a Valhalla, you know what I mean? They're there all the time.
Valhalla for rats?
Yeah, there's always, there's always rubbish lying around.
Why would they think it's a Valhalla?
Well, they do, and
it's a place where Viking sort of warriors go after they've died.
Yes, that's right. Well, the rats think it's paradise. You know what I mean?
Rats don't think like that, do they?
Well, anyway, the point is, it's in a place called Hackbridge, right? Which is right on the border of sort of Greater London and Surrey.
Okay.
And
is it near Croydon?
No, it's not actually, no. Oh. And these places, I mean, they look odd, they're built odd, they're multicoloured, like they look like the front of the...
were they all painted like sort of Tobermory colours, you mean?
Well, they're all sorts of odd colours. And this is supposed to be, the start of the revolution. All houses would eventually be built like this.
Yeah.
But they're all falling to pieces. Well, not falling to pieces.
Have they been built by like a housing association?
Yes, that's right. That's absolutely right. But so people buy them and own them.
Are they for the filthy poor, then?
Well, no, people buy them and own them, believe it or not. Yeah, and they pay, excessive, service charges for, having to use special fuel in their wood-burning stove and all this. It's ridiculous.
Is it like a sort of gated community or something?
Well, no, it's not actually gated, but they do find them... the people who live there feel very superior to everybody else because ecologically they are the best and all this kind of stuff.
So what sort of people live there?
Well, weirdos, I suppose, because, who'd want to live in those sort of houses. I've no idea. And
Who would live in a house like this?
Yes, I don't want to be rude to the residents, because obviously they don't regard themselves as weirdos.
Well, there might be listeners who live there.
Yeah, well, indeed. And every listener to TalkSport is a valuable listener, and what I'm saying is that from the outside looking in, it's difficult to understand exactly what the motive for living there is. But anyway, the whole experiment seems to have backfired because there are rats running around all over the place, and it's become a major issue.
Yeah.
And so, could we just knock it down and start again? Because they don't work. They
you can't just knock
work.
down a load of houses that people live in.
Well, I think you can. If they're not working, they're attracting vermin.
Well, there's vermin all over the place. I mean, there's plenty of rats in this street that we're currently sitting in.
Yeah, but you don't see them because we keep them under control. What they're doing there is they're not keeping them under control.
No, I see.
This is the whole point, okay?
Right, okay.
You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. Here's something from Neil. He says, we had 2 tornadoes 3 days ago in Saskatchewan, Canada.
Wow.
How about that?
Yes, Saskatchewan. Yeah, it's a good name, that, isn't it?
So, Saskatchewan.
Yeah, but
now, how about this?
It's named after a tribe of Indians, by the way.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah.
All right. Sure it's not the other way around?
No.
Okay. The story that I've been sent by Ashley, it says, what does Porky think of this? Roberto Martinez to claim for more than £10 million in compensation from Everton at independent hearing.
I don't know anything about that.
Well, I've got a story here. Roberto Martinez will stake his claim for more than £10 million in compensation from Everton at an independent hearing in London on Wednesday.
What?
Yep, that's what it says.
10 million?
So that means it must have been yesterday. The two parties will have legal representatives state their claims on Wednesday in the hope of reaching a compromise. He had more than 3 years left on his contract.
Yeah, I think he got a new contract, didn't he, at the start of last season.
So he's after money.
Well, that means they must have been paying him $3.5 million a year, doesn't it?
Does it?
Basically.
Yeah, I suppose so.
3.5, 4 million a year.
And he'll settle for 5 or something.
Yeah, I suppose so, something like that.
That's a bit unfortunate, isn't it?
I mean, David Moyes, I think he left United with about 5, although he could have.
Well, yeah, but
he was
only there a year, wasn't he?
He's only there a year, you're absolutely right.
And did he not get like a 6-year contract or something ridiculous?
Yeah, I think he did. AVB, right?
Yeah.
I think he got about 14 million in payoffs from Chelsea
he's done very well.
and Spurs.
It's got a bit quiet on the AVB front, actually. I don't know where he's going to turn up.
It has gone a bit quiet. And Jose Mourinho, unbelievably, and the people who left with him the first time he left Chelsea, it was reported, and I can't vouch for the accuracy of it, that £18 million was given to Jose and his well, when he left, all his coaches left and all that. The whole package cost about £18 million. So as I said, the rewards for failure in this country are enormous, absolutely enormous.
Well, indeed. And I had a text or a tweet from somebody last night saying that they'd heard the story that Jurgen Klinsmann might be coming to Southampton.
Jurgen?
Have you heard that one?
Why would they want Jurgen Klinsmann? He's got no proven track record as a club manager.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he's had quite a proven track record as an international manager.
No, I don't agree.
He did very well in the World Cup.
He took over Germany when they were at a very low ebb.
That he got America to the United States to a semi-final in the Copa America, which is pretty good going considering who else was in the tournament.
Yeah, but the quality of teams in South America is the lowest that it's ever been.
I wouldn't say
when
that.
you find Brazil going out at a relatively early stage of a competition, you know that the competition is not good.
No, not at all. I mean, Lionel Messi coming to form. You know, they had Aguero on the subs bench yesterday because they couldn't get him on. Higuain scored 2 goals.
Yeah.
You know, you're watching Chile there with Sanchez. Yeah. You know, these are good teams.
Well,
I think talking out of the back end of your megaphone.
No.
You don't mind me saying so.
No, I don't.
He also managed Germany, didn't he?
Yes, that's what I said to you. I just said to you, he took over Germany and they're at a very low ebb. Yeah. I think it was the start of the 2006 World Cup, and Germany had been smashed to pieces. You know, it was
so why wouldn't Southampton want him then?
Well, I just don't think he's got any track record. And anyway, he lives in America, lives in California.
Yeah,
he's almost a naturalised American. Why would he want to come here and work in England?
Well,
it just won't work.
But for the money, Dopey.
Yeah.
Coming up next.
All right, well, Dopey, yeah, fine. But what benefit is that to Southampton?
Well,
paying him a lot of money when he lives in California and he nips over occasionally to do a bit of coaching.
No, he would come and live here.
He has a reputation when he runs clubs in Europe, right, of living almost permanently in California.
Really?
Have a look at your track record and get your facts straight,
true.
okay?
No, he did that when he was Germany manager. He did that for a while, but he completely revamped the whole of the German football system. Well, and he also managed Bayern Munich. And I think Southampton could do a lot worse. This is Talk Sport.
I'm only happy when it rains. I'm only happy when it's complicated. And though I know you can't appreciate it, I'm only happy when it rains. You know I love it when the music's
This is It's Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Of course, Porkyvision coming up a little bit later on. We'll be doing a podcast later as well. If you're in Glastonbury right now, we know some of you are listening to us. The show gets underway properly, I guess, over the next few hours. But it must be absolutely awful in the middle of this storm where the rain is battering down. There's thunder and lightning.
Why do people subject themselves to it?
We're going to ask one man who knows the answer to that very question. He is Nick Harcourt. We've spoken to him many times in the past. We haven't spoken to him for a long time, actually. Nick, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
How are you, fellas?
We're very well indeed. We
you.
haven't spoken to you for like what seems like an age, Nick. You know, I'm glad to hear you're still around and glad to hear you're still following the football. I was looking on your Twitter and you were celebrating the fact that 4 teams from what we used to call the British Isles are all still in the Euros. Let's ask this first question. Why do people go to Glastonbury to get covered in mud and get completely soaking wet and smelly for 4 days?
Well, first of all, I thought you'd forgotten all about me, so thanks for giving me.
No, I think we tried to get you a couple of times, and we never answered the phone, so we sort of gave up for a while.
And you know, the other thing is Villa is my team, so the less we say about that, the better. But
tremendous.
While we're talking about Glastonbury, why indeed do people want to go and subject themselves to that? I think that people are secretly hoping that you're going to get one of those beautiful English summer weekends, and that it's going to be all love, peace, and happiness. But then again, you know, there's enough people and there's enough history, I think, of Glastonbury being, you know, a mud fest that people must have a little bit of a clue what they're in for, right?
Well, they've got a clue what they're in for. And what they're in for, in my view, Nick, is a disgusting experience. Anybody who wants to wallow around in mud and not bath or shower for 3 or 4 days, use communal loo facilities, you know, with latrines with thousands of other people, it's just not civilised. It's not civilised. They shouldn't be allowed back into society once they've been to Glastonbury.
But isn't that the point,
Should be deported.
But isn't that the point? They want to be uncivilised. It's the closest they can get to being uncivilised. What do you think, Nick?
You know something? I was at give away my age now. I was at Woodstock '94.
Wow!
And if you remember that one, they called it the Mudstock because basically the second and third days of the 3 days were a complete washout, and exactly what you're talking about, which was people were swimming around in other people's you know what. And it's pretty horrible. You know. There is this great thing of festivals, obviously, the communal experience that people want to experience when they go to these things. But, yeah, I mean, you know, you wouldn't catch me anywhere near that place this weekend.
Oh, no, I totally agree. And, you know, you said you went to Woodstock in '94. The original Woodstock, when was that? Is that 67, 68
or
something?
Around then, yeah.
69 was the original one.
And if you were at that one, you don't remember it. Basically.
Well, you don't remember it now at all. If you remember the '60s, you weren't really there. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, Nick, the original Woodstock was, you know, the festival of love and peace, and what you've just said about the communal aspect of getting together and a brave new world emerges from all this love and peace. That's one thing. Okay, I can accept all that. But then you've told us quite rightly, everybody knows when they go to Glastonbury now, they revert to animalistic behaviour, uncivilised, trashy, filthy, you know, ill-disciplined, brutal way of living. And, you know, we need psychologists, psychiatrists and people like that to go and talk to these people to find out what's wrong with them.
So I take it you're not going.
Oh, I won't be going. No. I'd run a million miles.
He doesn't even know where it is. I mean, he's told me he's been to Glastonbury Tor. We didn't realise there was a town attached to it, not more than 2 miles away. Yeah. And also, he's only, poor Porky's only been to one concert in his life. Yeah. Which was the Beach Boys and Elton John together, right?
At Wembley Stadium.
Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, that was about 75, 74, 75, something like that.
I'm wondering if you think it might be an age thing. It's either aging hippies or just young kids who don't know any better.
Well, I think it's a mixture of both because we look at the pictures of all the people there, and it is definitely a mixture of both.
It's become a very middle class kind of outing. Basically, I mean, when I was working in the 90s in London, in newspaper business, all these kind of bright young things and people that lived in Chelsea, and I mean, it was all, you're off to Glasgow. I mean, it became this very posh thing to do, and it still kind of is like that. You know, it's no longer like even Woodstock '94. There was a lot of drugs being taken, and I'm sure that's being done in Glastonbury as well. But for a lot of people now, it's the only opportunity they get, as I said, to get out of their comfort zone. You know, they've never been this far away from Waitrose in their lives, and they're going to this thing where they feel like they're having an incredible adventure.
Yeah, well, maybe they are having an incredible adventure. I don't know, mate. As I said, I'm probably with you in so much as the idea of going to something like that. When you're stuck in the mud and in the middle of the field there with all sorts of weird stuff. I don't know, but they say it's about the music. The lineup is fantastic, and good luck to everybody who.
Well, it's got to be better than Kanye West last year trying to do that Queen song, Bohemian Rhapsody. Do you remember that?
Say no more. Yeah, I'm with you. The thing is, though, there's so many festivals now. Across Europe, obviously. We even have a few in the States now. When I first got here 20-odd years ago, there weren't any. But, there's so many festivals in Europe. I mean, if you really think about it, do you want to have a soggy weekend in the south of England, or maybe go over to Europe and see something there? There's so many great festivals.
Now, Nick, 2 observations on Glastonbury. First of all, as usual, of course, years on, it's now a sellout because there is actually a part of the Glastonbury site now which is walled off to the great unwashed masses because it's a pop-up hotel where you can pay £10,000 for the week to live in luxury. So that's observation 1. Observation 2, I have received information that within the next couple of years they're going to change the Glastonbury site anyway because now it has become so disgusting in terms of, the occupation of hundreds of thousands of human beings. They've got to take it elsewhere.
Oh, really? They're going to take it to another site?
Yes, definitely. The guy who started it when, 500 people turned up for the first one and all that, well, he's made his millions.
Michael East, right?
Yeah, that's right, quite rightly so, and I think he's just said the site's just so inappropriate for it anymore. It's apparently on the Somerset levels, which gets flooded anyway, so there was no real, he never envisaged there would be hundreds of thousands of people there, so you've got to take it somewhere else. Will it still be Glastonbury?
Well, obviously not, but, I think that when you look at a music business, and this is another conversation for another day perhaps, when you look at the music business where nobody makes money from selling records anymore, that the only way that artists can really make a living is from doing these huge events. So, the whole festival thing, as I mentioned, even in the States here, has become such a big money spinner for a lot of artists who perhaps can't go out and make a bunch of money on their own doing a tour, but if you stick them on a dozen festivals every summer, then people can make a living. So, festivals have become something very different from what they were in the 70s, that's for sure.
I was saying to Mike last night that some of the acts on there that he actually would recognise would make your hair stand on end in the sense that, you can still go and see these people. Like Art Garfunkel's going to be there, Madness, Squeeze, New Order, Earth, Wind and Fire, PJ Harvey, Jeff Lynne's ELO, who just embarked on a big new tour as well. Yeah. So, there's an awful lot for your money, I suppose, if you like.
Yeah, and I think, again, it really comes down to the experience that a lot of people want to have. It's not the experience I want to have, but, I have been to some great festivals in England as well, but in the summer, when it's beautiful, when you've actually had good weather, and that can be a lot of fun. Of course, you still see the crazy drunk people who forget to put sunscreen on, and, you feel sorry for them the next day when they look like lobsters, but the festival experience can be fun, but a miserable weekend in the rain is not for me. So I'm with you guys.
That's right. Now, Nick, the other issue here about Glastonbury and all that is that if you have these headline acts that my colleague Mike Graham has just outlined to you, what then is the principle that started these festivals?
Well, they're not the headlines. They're the kind of lower down ones.
Yeah, OK. What I'm saying is I thought these festivals were for the emergence, and I remember them coming through, of groups like Mungo Jerry. The first we ever heard of Mungo Jerry, right? In the summertime when the weather is fine, gonna get right down and all that. Now, they emerged from a festival...
You're older than me, mate.
Sorry?
I said, you're older than me, mate.
No, I won't be older than you.
He's older than everybody.
But Nick, what I'm saying is, surely the principle of these festivals originally was to accommodate these emerging groups. But they haven't got a hope in hell now, have they, up against those names that we've just outlined?
I think there's still a lot of emerging bands on these bills.
Oh, there's loads, there's loads. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's the headliners obviously that sell the things out, and that's why they become so big when they can put headliners on, like a Radiohead or like a. Well,
it's Coldplay, Adele, and somebody else this year, I think.
Yeah, so
Muse.
Adele, huge, Coldplay, huge. These are the people who are selling the festival out.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, I got a tweet here from a guy called Michael. He says that it's the SZ Festival in Budapest. It's on an island in the Danube. He says it's great, it's dry weather, and a top lineup as well, much better than Glastonbury. So that's one of the ones you were talking about, probably, Nick.
Yeah, like I said, I don't have a list in front of me of all the other festivals, but, there's so many great festivals in Europe in places where it's probably a lot more pleasant, you know?
Yeah, well, I'm sure it is a lot more pleasant. Anywhere's more pleasant than Glastonbury. Should be shut down on public health grounds because somebody's got to emerge from there with some terrible disease that we've never heard of before. Believe me.
Oh, trench foot.
Yeah, no, worse than trench foot. It'll be something like Trenchface or something like that, and people will all come back like lepers. I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen.
It could spread. Nick, thank you very much indeed. We'll be going to the Edinburgh Festival, actually, if you happen to be over in Edinburgh later on in August, but there we are. There won't be any mud there, but there'll be plenty of drinking going on, I should imagine. That was Nick Harcourt talking about Glastonbury. Brendan says the Glastonbury Festival is supposedly moving to Longley in 2018.
Well, there you go.
But it's only going to be for 1 year during its fallow year. Don't know about that.
No, I told you.
We shall see. This is TalkSport.
In the middle of the night, I go walking in my sleep through the desert of the truth to the river so deep. We all end in the ocean. We all start in the streams. We're all carried along by the river of dreams in the middle of the night.
Chris says Trenchface. Wow.
Yeah.
What a terrible thought that would be.
Well, it could be. Listen, talking about diseases and all that, and this is a very serious story.
We were talking about diseases.
Well, I think we were.
You're going to talk about Rory McIlroy.
I'm going to talk about Rory McIlroy.
I'm glad you are, because I had a tweet here from somebody just a little while ago asking for your opinion on it, knowing that you might probably have one. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, yeah, it's from Bantam Bouncer.
Yeah.
What does Porky make of Rory McIlroy pulling out of the Olympics?
Well, I defend him absolutely.
I've got a theory about it.
Give me a theory in a minute. What I'm going to say is, if a man in Rory's position thinks that he's putting himself at risk, his health at risk, by even 1%, he shouldn't go. And the point is, he's looked at it in huge detail. I've got a doctor's view here which says all the panic about Zika seems to be about mums-to-be. The virus is linked with having a baby. But Zika has a very serious implications for men too. A man who's been ill with Zika can pass on the virus in his semen. There are tests, but none of them can reliably tell whether a man can infect others. Therefore, it's an unknown quantity.
Yeah.
I support Rory McIlroy absolutely. And can I say, the trolls who are now giving him a hard time on Twitter and calling him a coward are in themselves cowardly for not recognising the fact that it's his decision.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't disagree with you about that at all, because, I mean, any troll on Twitter, and we suffer from them as much as anybody else does, you in particular, and I do, of late for some reason. In fact, there's some guy trolling us at the moment on the two mics. Who's a complete plank. But basically, I have no sympathy for the trolls, but I think that it's not just... I mean, I accept that because he's a young man and he wants to have children, there's probably quite a good reason for him to consider going and to consider what would happen if he contracted the disease.
Yes.
Not an awful lot's been said about it, you know. However, what I would also say is that there's plenty of other reasons not to go to the Rio Olympics.
Of course,
i.e., the crime, the fact that the infrastructure isn't particularly ready, but also...
The economy is tanking, literally tanking, and every day you're reading about, part of the Olympic budget has now been cancelled because they can't afford it, and all this kind of stuff.
But I also wonder whether, he decided he was going to represent, sort of the island, which might have caused a little bit of controversy.
Well, he comes from the island of Ireland, so I have no problem with that.
Well, I don't care about it either, but, we are not the sort of people that get worked up about these things, but if you're in Northern Ireland, which is where he actually comes from, which is part of the, the United Kingdom, that he should be part of Team GB, for him to play for Ireland would be something which was rather unusual. But the Irish Olympic people have said, obviously, it's his decision, they're not upset about it, but I just wonder if it's not, yes, the Zika virus might have been the final thing that stopped him from going, but I suspect that it wasn't the only thing, and I would imagine that he was already kind of wavering, because he needs to get his game on fire, by the way. He missed the cut of the US Open.
Did,
The last thing he needs is to go to a meaningless event, effectively a meaningless event for a pro golfer, to try and win a medal.
Well, I don't agree with that, because I think he's a very honourable boy, Rory McIlroy.
He's not honourable because he's pulled out.
No, that's a very unfair thing to say.
You can't.
He's pulled out because of a health scare.
Well, you don't know that. That's what he said.
Well, I know there's a health scare.
Yeah.
And you know there's a health scare.
Well, there is a health alert.
Yes, there is a health alert.
It's not a health scare in the sense that nobody's going.
And therefore, it's wrong of you to doubt the reasons he's given for pulling out.
I'm just saying that there could be more than one reason.
I think you're being mischievous and underhanded.
No. How am I being underhanded? I'm telling you what I think.
Because
How is that underhanded?
You're trying to stir up trouble for Rory McIlroy.
No, I'm not trying to stir up trouble.
Because that is, you've got no evidence whatsoever that he's decided, actually, I don't want to play for Ireland in case the English don't like it, the British don't like it, so I think I'll pull out. I think that's a very, very malicious thing to say.
Well, again, you're trying to twist my words. What I said to you was there have been many reasons...
No, they were your words, mate, quite clear.
But there were lots of other words as well. You see, you've done what you always do, but in your poisonous little tabloid way, which is to pick out one thing and twist it, right? What I said was...
that's because
there are lots
words
of
are my
reasons.
business,
The words are not your business. They used to be your business, but now you get them all mixed up.
Words
what I did say was that...
don't come easy to you.
They don't come easy to you. What I was saying was there are several reasons why you might not want to go to Rio.
Yeah.
The Zika virus is one, but everything else is also a factor. For example, the lack of security, perhaps, the lack of organisation, the dangerous crime situation there, which is also going on, and also the fact that he is not playing very well.
Yeah.
And he needs to get his form back, not for the Olympics, but for actual proper, golf tournaments, majors that he wants to win.
Yeah.
As I said, he missed the cut at the US Open.
He did, yeah.
Right? So the last thing he needs is to go to Rio, play golf in a place which, really is not a golfer's paradise, for a medal that he might not win.
Well,
and I think there's more to it.
I'm sorry.
I'm not being underhand. I'm just giving you a slightly more expansive explanation rather than your rather narrow-minded one.
No, mine's not narrow-minded. Mine is honest and straightforward.
You've never been honest and straightforward in your life.
Roy McIlroy has pulled out the Olympics for one reason and one reason only. He is fearful that the Zika virus...
that's your belief.
It's my belief, and it's what he said, and I've no reason to doubt him. The Zika virus, which is a very real health threat, and not many people know it's a health threat to men as well as women, is something he does not have to subject himself to under any circumstances, and he would be mad to do so. He has my 100% support, and I think it is rotten of you to try and portray the boy as being
he's not a boy,
duplicitous.
He's a man, okay?
You're trying to portray him as being duplicitous and using the Zika virus for nefarious reasons, and that's really unfair. In fact, I'm disappointed in you saying that. Really disappointed.
Well, I'm so sorry you're disappointed. I'll try not to sleep at night. I'll be worried so much about you being disappointed.
Yes.
The fact is, you've got to sometimes look beyond the story and look beyond the PR spin, and sometimes consider...
Not to be a malicious troublemaker.
I'm not being a malicious troublemaker. That's normally your job, right? That's your job. That's what you've always done.
Agent provocateur is a good expression for you.
Agent provocateur.
Agent provocateur.
Agent is a French word for money, right? Anyway, I don't know who you're trying to impress by making out that you're being somehow, saintly about this.
Well, I'm not being saintly. I'm being straightforward.
All I'm trying to do is in the world.
I don't need to impress people.
In the world of journalism, yeah, but you're always trying to. In the world of journalism,
my image is secure. My image is secure.
You seem to have forgotten in the world of journalism, you're supposed to question things and not just accept them. I think the trouble with you is you went for a PR job for a while, and now you swallow everything that you're told.
No. I think when you start, picking holes in perfectly legitimate arguments just to cause trouble,
I'm not causing trouble.
That's not nice.
I'm not causing trouble.
Not nice.
Now, coming up,
Rory's a lovely boy, and to start causing trouble for him...
Why do you keep calling him a boy?
To start causing trouble for him is...
Why do you keep calling him a boy?
In my view, wicked.
Why do you keep calling him a boy?
Because he has a saintly, boy-like face.
And how old is he?
He's a great guy.
And how old is he?
Mid-20s.
Yeah, so he's not a boy.
Well,
he's a man.
Well, we refer to footballers as boys when they're 30, for goodness sake.
Do you?
Of course we do.
Well, that's very patronising.
No, it's not. It's the language of sport.
Is that right? OK, well, it's not my language. Now, coming up...
Well, we know that.
Coming up...
You haven't got a language.
Coming up, we are going to do listography.
Yeah.
He's 27, by the way, so he's closer to 30 than to 20.
Yeah, well,
and if somebody called me a boy when I was 27, I'd give him a slap.
Yeah, well, that's because you've lost your rag, you see, because you know that you've actually been a little bit naughty here.
No, I'm just trying to drag you away from this ridiculous PR that you've fallen into, where you've forgotten to question the right things. You've spent the entire...
I don't think so.
I'll tell you why you're defending him, is because you're trying to row back your sort of the accusations of you being anti-Irish.
No,
which you've
not
had
at all.
all week because of all the terrible things you've said about Martin O'Neill.
Not at all.
This is Talk Sport.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Tell me lies, tell me lies. Oh no, you can't disguise. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. Porkyvision coming up in the next hour. Shall we try and pick a listography for the next hour?
Yeah, let's do that.
We've had lots of really, really good ones over the last few hours, I have to say. Here's one from Pete. He says, how about 3 favourite school memories?
Nice.
Which I thought you might fancy.
Yeah.
3 places you visited which were much better than you expected.
Yes.
Which is interesting. List of 3 things you must do on your bucket list and why they're important to do.
Bucket lists are rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
Here's one from Lucy who says your 3 favourite works of art and why. That might be interesting.
Yes.
Rich says list your top 3 winners and losers of all time.
Yeah.
3 best breaking news stories or 3 best interviews from Liz. I think we've done something similar.
I think
to
we
that.
have. Do you want memories from school?
Memories from school, I suppose, would be all right.
Yeah,
we haven't done that one. I quite like the artworks as well. Maybe we'll hold that one for another day.
If you want, I don't. You choose. Go on.
I don't know. Let's do 3 favourite works of art. Shall
Okay,
we do that?
That's fine.
Just for a change.
Yeah, no problem.
Because we do talk about school memories.
Yeah,
quite a
we
lot.
do.
We'll
Yeah,
do that
I
again.
agree with you.
Okay.
I agree with
all
you.
right, so we'll do 3 favourite works of art. We'll do that in the next hour.
Okay.
Lots more issues coming in from the weather-related scenario because we've got the Copa America game between Colombia and Chile is still delayed apparently. Because they've got some massive thunderstorm problem over in Chicago as well.
Wow,
and,
the whole world must be subject to one giant thunderstorm at the moment.
You also do wonder as well whether because in fact Sandy was telling me the other day there's going to be fantastic, fabulous weather for the referendum vote,
right?
And people were asking whether that would mean more people would vote or less because if you're sort of enjoying the weather, you might not bother. But if it's going to be tipping it down like this, you would imagine that might affect the turnout, I suppose.
Yeah, indeed.
Andy says this, MG is a duplicitous plank with tabloid tactics against Boy Roy. Porky is always straight-edged, promoting the truth.
Thank you. Thank
Amazing,
you. That's exactly what I said. That's exactly what I tried to say. Incidentally, I'm getting information through in my headphones that a contributor to this show tonight is now stranded because of storm conditions.
Bill Burrows, he's meant to be coming in a night early because of the referendum scenario tomorrow.
Right.
But he's stuck currently in West London.
My God.
I think his engine's flooded out.
Flooded engine.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you saw the pictures that came in earlier on Twitter from, I think it was Rains Park.
Horrendous.
Which is sort of out that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
And literally sort of 2 feet of water going down the streets.
It's
absolutely amazing.
God.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So no end to it.
No, I know, there is no end to it.
What happened to the greenhouse effect? We weren't supposed to have any rain after about the year 1978.
Well, it has become very sort of... I mean, I said to you when I met you outside tonight, it feels kind of almost like tropical rain, doesn't it? It feels like that rain you get in America when it's very warm and you don't actually mind that it's raining because it's usually a bit of a relief and it lifts all the humidity. And
then about 20 minutes later, the steam's rising off your shirt, and 10 minutes after that, your shirt's dry again.
Exactly.
That happened to me once in British Honduras.
Did it?
It was I was caught in what do you call a very heavy rainstorm? A cyclone?
Or a hurricane, maybe?
Hurricane? No, it wasn't a hurricane. It
monsoon?
Was, monsoon. It was a monsoon. Absolutely right, yeah.
Is that? Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to tell me something else.
No, that's what happened to me in British Honduras.
Do you know what happened to me today?
What?
I have to tell you this. I'll keep the story short, but I had to get something sorted out with my bank, right?
Right.
And normally I do everything. Normally I do everything online. I had to get a card basically, which would enable me to do something else because the card I had currently run out.
Sorry, just an ordinary debit or credit card?
Well, I don't want to give away the details for obvious reasons. I don't want to tell people on national radio what kind of card I'm looking for because they might try and intercept it. My point is that I just needed a card. It was a very straightforward thing. It took me an hour on the phone. In addition to, ringing up and first having to pump in all sorts of information with this automatic
drives
voice.
me mad.
Then getting through to the person who said, oh, yes, well, we can't help you with that. You have to go to this other person. Then being on hold to that person for a while. Then going back to another person. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, if I didn't have, a spare hour in the day, which I don't always have.
Yes.
Well, if I had like a job where I worked during the day and I had, there's just no way to get anything like this done.
No, I totally agree.
When are they going to fix the system?
I don't know.
The point? I know there's a certain amount of security.
Did you have trouble getting through to a person?
Yeah, I mean, I was probably 10 minutes before I spoke to an actual person.
Right.
And then I spoke to a person, but it turned out that they couldn't help me. So they said, we'll put you through to this other person. But then they just put you back in the queue.
Well, this is it, you see.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I went... you go through that kind of thing where you're so angry.
Yes.
But then you go past the anger.
Because
once you've been on hold for 20 minutes, you kind of think, well... it's kind of pointless hanging up now.
Yes.
I've been on 20 minutes. It will surely be done soon. But
yes.
It was an hour.
Yes.
I kid you not.
Yes.
I can see you have no sympathy at all.
Oh, I do. And I feel sorry for people who get stuck in that.
For me?
I mean, do you remember I had to open some new bank accounts regarding our business a few months ago?
We've only got
drove me mad. In the end, I drove to the bank and demanded to speak to somebody face to face.
Yeah, good idea. This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mites. There will, of course, be a podcast coming out a little bit later on.
Yep.
We're going to do listography in this hour as well on our favourite 3 artworks, which should be interesting. I've got some amazing pictures just been sent in to me from David of some flooding in Barking. Have a look at that. It's like a river going down a road.
Wow,
So you may want to be careful heading home. Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
bad news
because it must be. I mean, this is a bit like what happened the other week where they said where there was that. What was that place down in Surrey that got flooded underneath the bridge?
It was a place called Wallington,
That's right.
And the water just fills up in the space of minutes.
Yeah. And they said
it gathers underneath a railway bridge, and it literally just rose in minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, and they said basically that I think they had a month's worth of rainfall.
That's right.
Inside a couple of hours.
That's right.
It's the kind of rain we're having out there.
Yeah.
But absolutely dreadful.
Terrible.
Matt says this about you. He says Porky couldn't be straight edged if he used a slide rule and a spirit level.
It really is that right?
Harsh.
And where do they get that impression from? I wonder.
They
get it from you.
No,
denigrating my character and my personality at every turn.
No, absolutely not. Here's one from Matty, who says clearly the Muppet doesn't know how to change the station. If you don't like it, don't listen, you absolute plank. He's directing that at this guy who's been trolling us all night.
Right, okay.
David says this: I went to Glastonbury in 2011 with my wife and daughter. I highly recommend it to Porky. It was a magical experience.
He went to Glastonbury?
Yeah.
With his daughter?
Yeah.
Found it a magical experience?
Yeah, and his wife.
Well, a guy must be on acid. I'm sorry, but you must be.
Well, I think that's very harsh.
Well, it probably is, but
you've got to be a music fan
how
as well.
anybody could possibly enjoy it, I've no idea at all.
You've got to be a music fan as well. And I mean, I suppose, as I said to you the other night, if you could go and stay in that pop-up hotel, albeit that's a rather expensive way to do it.
10,000 a week.
That's the way that I would prefer to do it.
Yeah, and me.
Where you could have a shower, every day.
But then you're not enjoying what the purists call the Glastonbury experience, rolling round in the mud, the blood and the beer, you know what I mean?
But I think, as I say, there's an element of slumming it that people do. They want to sort of say, and also there's
They live on a different planet to me. That's uncivilised. I don't want to do it, you know?
But it's also, there's this kind of collectivism that people get involved in, which involves, sometimes football rivalries and people like to be part of a big group. And lots of people like to come back to work from the weekend and say, I was at Glasgow, man. Si says driving near Leeds and it's a nice dry night up here. Yeah. Well, of course, that wasn't quite what we were looking for, Si, but thank you anyway for telling us that up there it's actually all right.
Well, the thing is that storms are raging over in Chicago, right? But they ain't raging in Leeds. So there's something very strange going on with the world temperature, is there not?
There certainly is. Now, Western says Ronaldo surely needs to file an injunction against Porky, using his name after the Porky jinx strikes yet again. We haven't really talked about Ronaldo, but it was interesting watching him because I know that you had said that he was probably going to single-handedly win the game, and he very nearly did, right?
Yes.
But did you notice that every single time something, it's like if you contrast him with Gareth Bale, Gareth Bale plays for Wales in a way that Ronaldo does not play for Portugal. Gareth Bale does not throw a tantrum every time, one of his players takes the ball off him.
Well, they're different personalities,
Did you see the thing with the microphone earlier in the day?
Yes, I know he threw it in the lake, didn't he? That was a bit harsh, I thought.
Yes.
It was only a microphone, I suppose. But,
but I mean, microphones are expensive.
They are, but I mean, we've got more microphones, haven't we? You can always find a spare microphone.
Well, but you don't know where that guy came from. Maybe it was the only one.
Yeah. The other thing is, am I right in thinking that after Gareth Bale, his teammate at Real Madrid, had scored an outstanding free kick in this competition, after his nemesis, Lionel Messi, had scored an amazing free kick in Copa America.
Yeah, and basically beaten the Argentine record of goals scored.
Exactly. You could tell every time there was a free kick, anywhere between 20 and 35 yards out, he did the famous Ronaldo pose, stealing himself, a bit like Johnny...
Yeah, but he does that jump, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's right, stealing himself like that Johnny Wilkinson used to do when he was taking a kick for England's rugby team, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then pace it up. He got one or two of them right, but he got one at just, I think, midway through the second half, completely wrong. He just skied it over the bar.
He did.
Which is very unusual for Ronaldo. He normally gets it right. But he was determined, what I'm saying is, to match the achievements of the two other great footballers in the world.
But it's like
Gareth Bale and Lionel Messi.
And you know what I thought of during, and you'll like this.
What did you think of?
It's about you. While the game was on,
all
I could think of was your description of Gareth Bale being his personal ball butler.
That's right.
Because when he plays for Portugal, he doesn't have that.
No.
And so, he's constantly sort of struggling. There was one point in the second half when he and the ball was passed to him and he kind of had made this run across the penalty area. And he bumped into one of his own players.
Yes.
And the other guy took the ball off him because they had a kind of collision. And you should have seen the look he got.
Yeah.
Because he missed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You just don't see Bale doing that.
No, dagger eyes, so to speak, No.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like you can see him going into the coach's office after the game and saying, this man will never play for Portugal again.
Exactly, he play in the team, I know play in the team, and that sort of stuff. Have you seen this report that the dresses issued to ladies at Wimbledon who are sponsored by Nike have had to be recalled because they are too revealing?
Are they?
Yes.
I haven't seen that story, no.
Nike have recalled the tennis dresses due to be used by their female players at Wimbledon after complaints that the skimpy outfits revealed too much flesh. The manufacturers asked those who wear the apparel, at least 20 players in the main women's draw, to send them back for alterations.
The what?
To send, The
what did you say?
Apparel.
The apparel.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. To send them back for alterations days ahead of the championship. Players complained that the £75 Nike Premier Slam, that's what it's called, the Premier Slam dress, flies up above the waistline and hampers their play.
Well, I mean, that happens a lot, but most women who wear those kinds of dresses, they normally have a pair of sort of shorts or something underneath.
Yeah, well, exactly, but apparently these dresses are all over the place, so,
really?
I mean, it's not good, is it?
You know what we didn't talk about was the, do you remember, was it the Swiss game? What was the game where the shirts all got ripped?
Yeah, that's right, they got ripped like paper, didn't they? Now that related to something I warned about, because I remember looking at it and thinking...
I think it was a Switzerland game, wasn't it?
Switzerland game, yeah, it was, yeah. The red shirts, weren't they? They were being pulled apart.
That's right, yeah, and about 5 of them ripped open.
Yes, that's right,
and the guy made that rather... off-colour remark saying, I hope whoever made these shirts doesn't make condoms.
Yeah, well, that's not good. In fact, there was a row about a condom advert being shown in the middle of the England game, Was there? The other night, yeah, it was.
Well, a lot of people have been complaining about the adverts.
Yes, they have, yes, yeah. There's one advert they don't complain about, and that's... it's because I did a voiceover.
That's
on,
right.
A
lot of people started recognising it.
Yes, they did, yeah, and they don't complain about it. They say, play it again, Sam.
There's an amazing picture here.
Play it again, Mike, actually.
Russell has sent in of a man, you're just hearing it here, a manhole cover in Victoria, which has got loads of water flying out of it. It's going to burst soon,
Let's have a look.
apparently.
Let's have a look at that,
Well, I don't want to sort of make it too loud for you, but it's like a manhole cover shooting water out.
Oh, that's Victoria in London?
Yeah.
Must mean that the drain below is overflowing.
Well, it must be.
And shooting out the top. Yeah. My God. And that's in central London?
Well, it's in Victoria.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not
good.
good.
On your way home.
Yeah.
Well, no. You might need to stay here.
No. I can avoid Victoria. That's not a problem. But problem is, I'm low on gas, right?
Gas?
And or petrol, as we call it in this country.
Yeah. No, you see, because of our time in the old New York City area.
Yeah.
I mean, I never have to question you on that.
No, exactly. And
why? Well, did you not once say to me that you're never supposed to allow your car to go below a quarter?
No, you're not. I totally agree.
So how's that happened?
Well, what happened was, because of the inclement weather, which I thought would clear up, I didn't fancy pulling across a huge puddle into a petrol station. And also, we had a bit of work to do before the show tonight, didn't we?
So
I was trying to get here.
We always have a bit of work to do.
Yeah, but we had a particularly bit of work to do. However, as I pulled up, you pulled up as well, and you'd had the same problem with the weather getting here. Now, I'm only worried that with all this lightning going around, if they start closing all-night petrol stations, I'm going to be absolutely knackered.
Yeah.
And
have you not got enough petrol to get home?
I don't think I have. It's,
really?
There's an orange light on saying reserve fuel tank. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
That is not good.
And I'll only get to the nearest gas station, which is about a mile away, I think.
Well, you can always tramp down if you've not got a canister in the back.
No, of course I haven't got a canister in the back. What do you think I am? Some jerk who goes around...
Well, running out of petrol.
Yeah,
no, of course not.
Yeah, and needs a fuel. Did I tell you about the guy in Washington who I think I've told you the story.
You have told me the story, yeah.
I sort of...
The one who pretended he'd run out of petrol.
Always, and went around bumming $10 off people while he was walking around with an empty gas can. Excuse me, is there a gas station around here?
Yeah.
Sorry, what? Yeah, my car is... I just ran out of gas around the block there. Yeah. Well, yeah. And I've come out with my wallet. I was just making a call for my wife, and could you help me with $10 and I'll give you my address? And honestly, he used to do it every night.
I know.
Unbelievable.
Well, you managed to sort him out in the end.
I did, yeah. I stuck him in my car, so I'll take you back to your broken down car, and then took him on a terror ride around Washington, screaming around corners.
Well, if you like...
So where's your car, buddy? Where's your car?
Well, if you like, I'll give you a lift to the nearest petrol station.
Yeah, that'd be good if you could,
And you can buy some petrol there.
Yeah.
But you'd have to buy a canister. And then you can walk back with it.
Yeah, well, I think I'll risk trying to get to the petrol station first.
Really?
And if I get there and it's closed, I'll just have to wait until it opens again.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I can do.
Larry says, this monsoon weather has been caused by a 10-year warming of the deep Atlantic, blowing the jet stream over the southern part of the UK.
It could be.
I'd heard that this was all coming from France, because that's where they're having all the thunderstorms.
Do you know
it's coming the other way.
Do you know there's water in our oceans, particularly the Atlantic Ocean?
Yeah.
No, hang on, that has never come to the surface. And it could be coming to the surface now. So for thousands of years...
What, you mean it's never been churned up?
Exactly. For thousands of years, the water has been trailing along literally the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean.
Right.
And now for some unknown reason, for some reasons that scientists can't explain, that water is now coming to the surface. And of course, it's very cold water because it's been in the depths for so long.
Oh, yes.
And it is...
Deepest depths.
Yes, been imbalancing the world climate.
Really?
That's what I know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can't challenge you on that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, we've got lots more coming up, including Porkyvision.
Yeah.
And we'll keep you updated on
Porkyvision.
the terrible storm.
What time is that on?
It's very soon, so you better get you the No. Just stuff together. Just getting what I was about to say.
Just getting my research documents and files together.
This is Talk Sport.
I'm sitting in the railway station, got a ticket for my destination. On a tour of one-night stands, my suitcase and guitar in hand, and every stop is neatly planned for a poet and a one-man band. Homeward bound, I wish I was homeward bound. Home, where my thoughts escaping, home, where my music's playing, home, where my love lies waiting inside.
Now, this is our moment of listography. You might wonder why we're playing that, but because we're doing our 3 favourite pieces of art, you might be able to work it out.
Right, yeah.
While we're playing this piece of music.
Homeward Bound?
Yeah.
Well, that's Simon and Garfunkel.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
But what's Garfunkel's first name?
Art.
Very good.
I like it. Well done. Yeah, in fact, what's the full name? It's not Art, is it?
Well, it's usually short for Arthur, isn't it?
Arthur, yeah.
It doesn't quite work if it's Arthur.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Right, okay.
Yeah. So, we haven't really had that much of a sort of what you might call a cultural bent on this show very often.
Yes.
But this was asked for by Lucy, who's actually an artist
Okay,
as well.
Excellent.
Who came to Dingballs, funnily enough.
Oh, really?
So I was very delighted to meet her there.
Very nice to see her.
Yeah, so so we've got 3 opportunities to explore art that we either have or like. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to own it, obviously.
Okay.
But if you do, that might be good.
Yeah.
So would you want to go first with the first one of yours?
Yes, I'll go first.
All right.
My first piece of art, which is magnificent, I could stand there and stare at it all day, is John Constable's Flatford Mill.
Okay.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. John Constable is my favourite artist ever. I have a home in Constable Country, Orwell Quay, in Suffolk.
It's not really Constable Country, though, is it?
Well, it's about 6 miles from Constable Country.
I mean, can you see any hay bales?
Yeah, I can see a few, yeah. Well, you can see the sea as well because it's on a marina. But our colleague, Mr. Brazil, lives bang smack in the middle of Constable Country.
Okay.
I mean, you couldn't get closer. Dedham Vale. He lives there. And so I've actually been to the places where the Hay Wain and Flatford Mill were painted.
Yeah.
And it is quite spectacular.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's quite a good one.
Yes.
My first one is going to be Guernica.
Yes.
Which is a Picasso painting that he made about the Spanish Civil War, and it's one of those amazingly sort of, I suppose, I don't know how you would describe it, you would call it something very kind of evocative, because it's all about the Spanish Civil War. It's considered to be an anti-war painting. I think he painted it in like the 30s, and it's on tour quite often. And I think it's been in the Louvre for a long time. I saw it when it was in New York, because it came to New York at some point.
Okay.
It's a mass, and the thing about it is it's just a huge painting.
Right.
It's very long.
And who's it by?
By Picasso.
Picasso.
And it's much longer than it is kind of tall, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure.
And it's just one of those paintings you can stare at for ages and ages and see all sorts of different things. So that's my first one.
Okay, is it? Right.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so a second piece of art.
Yeah.
Second piece of art. Now, it doesn't have to be a painting necessarily, does it?
I suppose it doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't.
It could be a sculpture.
Well, that's exactly what I'm about to say to you. My second is the sculpture of Winston Churchill in Parliament Square in London.
Okay.
Which I think is magnificent.
Yeah.
Because, of course, you've got to remember my father was a Second World War naval hero.
So you keep saying.
So he used to tell me... That's rather dismissive.
Well, you keep saying
dismissive.
it. Well, you keep saying it.
Well, he was torpedoed in the Atlantic aboard a boat, when he was 19.
So you keep saying it.
Obviously, he told me of some of the effects of the Second World War. We wouldn't have won the war without Winston Churchill. We'd now be subjugated to the jackboot of the German tyranny. And for that reason, I admire the man so enormously, and I go sometimes and stand by his statue and thank God for our freedom from tyranny. Yes, I do.
When was the last time you did that?
Quite recently. And that was because it's near Victoria Station where I sometimes get my train, so I sometimes walk down to Parliament Square from there. So it's Winston Churchill's sculpture, without a shadow of a doubt.
Okay.
Is my second piece of art.
Well, I don't think that's a bad choice at all.
Yes.
I'm going to go for somebody called Hieronymus Bosch.
Who
I was introduced, because you have to remember my dad was an artist, you see. So, I mean, he always had great art books at home.
Oh, I see.
And many of those art books are some things. I mean, nowadays, if you go into like an old second-hand bookshop, you find some of these old art books, people buy them, take the prints out from the inside and actually frame them.
Right.
Because the prints were such high quality. You know?
Yes.
And so he introduced me to this guy. He was a Dutch painter from around about, I think, the 15th century.
Yes.
But he did these amazingly complicated pictures of things like Heaven and Hell.
Yes.
And I became fascinated as a child.
Yes.
Because you'd look at them and there were these figures who were in absolute torment on the one hand, which was hell.
Yes.
And then heaven, on the other hand, were all these kind of celestial types.
Okay.
And there was quite a lot of nakedness in them as well. And I got quite
nakedness.
I got quite fascinated by some of his kind of.
Well, you know why? Because of the nakedness. You're
probably
a bit of a perv even at that age.
Well, I think that's a very harsh thing to say. Actually,
okay.
We're talking about art here.
Yes. Okay.
I don't think pictures of naked people in art is in any way perverted to look at.
Yeah, every naked picture you look at, you have a think about it, don't you? Eh?
I think about what?
If it's a woman,
I think about what?
Yeah, you do.
What are you talking about?
Potential sexual partner.
It's like sitting with some kind of Neanderthal. I mean, it's absolutely. I mean, would you say this to Melvin Bragg if you're on the South Bank?
No,
show?
I wouldn't say to Melvin Bragg. No, he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, well, he's not averse to the old Rogerisation. I can tell you that from the start.
Well,
anyway, there's one particular one called Heaven and Hell, which I've always been fascinated with, and I don't actually know where it is.
Yeah.
And I've never seen the original of it. But it's one of my favourite pieces of art.
Right, okay.
What's your third one?
Well, my third one is any painting by L.S. Lowry. You know, Matchstick Men and Matchstick Cats and Dogs. Yeah. But in particular, I went up to see Gordon Taylor once at the PFA headquarters in Manchester. Yeah. And Gordon has one on the wall. It's called Going to Work.
An original?
Yeah, an original. Wow. Yeah, and it's worth over £1 million. And it's called Going to Work.
He doesn't own it, though. Presumably it's the PFA.
Yeah, the PFA own it. It's an investment, you know. And it shows, you know, the people in their clogs shuffling off to work to the factories with the smoke belching out in the heartland of northwest of England during the Industrial Revolution.
Yes.
And it's utterly astonishing the impact a picture like that has on you. So Ellis Lowry's people, his characters, his paintings were so simple and yet so evocative.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
Because he didn't try to. I mean, I can't understand the top or bottom of a Picasso picture, but I can well understand an L.S. Lowry picture, and therefore I nominate him as my third artiste.
Beauty, of course, is all in the eye of the holder, isn't it?
Yes,
really?
of course it is.
I'm going to be rather, shall we say, I'm not sure what the correct word is.
Yes.
But I'm going to nominate one of my father's paintings as my third favourite one, which is the one that I put out on Twitter actually a while ago. It's in the house down in Sussex. It's a massive painting that he did, and it's very abstract, but inside of the painting. And I'm not sure if he ever gave it a name actually, so I can't give it a name.
Right.
But he painted it, and it's quite a big canvas. But one of the clever things that he did was he almost did it in one kind of movement of his hand.
Yes.
So everything is very spherical.
Yes.
And every shape is kind of connected to the other shape. And I'm trying to move my hand to show you, but I know you can't see it on the radio. But
yes.
Inside of the circles, and if anyone's seen it on Twitter, I can always retweet it.
Right.
He's got faces of members of the family. So
really?
He's got me in there, he's got my sister in
and
there.
And they're quite clearly your faces,
and
are
if
they?
you look at them, you can see them. Yeah, and it's really clever.
I see.
And it, obviously, because it's by my dad, I think it's fantastic. And I stare at it often and think of him, which is nice. So those are my three, really.
Okay.
I mean, again, it's a bit like books and films.
Yeah.
There's so many other paintings
subjective
that you could have said that you liked.
Well, I would have said David Hockney, you see, because my favourite modern artist is David Hockney. He paints huge canvases of trees in fields and trees in a line sort of, tree-lined sort of path in North Yorkshire, something like that. They're spectacular. Yeah. It's fantastic.
I'm surprised you didn't say the Mona Lisa or something like that.
Well, that's too obvious.
Yeah.
And the other one is, which I think is fantastic, is The Scream.
Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic painting.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Edvard Munch.
Edvard Munch, because...
I used to have that as my little my little sort of picture on my email.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because...
it was how I felt when I used to work here some years ago.
Yeah, that's right. The sort of people we used to work with in those days. Fortunately, they've all left now. But no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And to me, it so clarifies, one complete human emotion of, I don't know where to go next. Frustration and horror and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that would have been a spare one.
I mean, I quite like some of Van Gogh's stuff.
Yeah.
I quite like some of Monet's stuff.
Van Gogh, I like Van Gogh.
Jackson Pollock.
I like the irises.
The irises?
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
Starry Night?
Well, yeah, that's right, yeah. My father would never listen to that record because he thought it was a perverted record.
He thought it was perverted?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I think it was about...
This is where you get it from, obviously.
No, I didn't get it from anything. It was that...
Well, it's called me perverted for looking at Hieronymus Bosch's pictures of naked men and women.
Well, that's a bit dodgy. But, no, that was done by Don McLean, who also did American Pie.
Yeah.
But the line I fell object to was... So on those starry, starry nights... so there's something about, as lovers often do, you took your own life, Vincent.
You took your life as lovers often do.
This world was never...
meant for one as beautiful
as you. That's right, yeah.
What's perverted about that?
I don't know. My father was very old school, and... he felt that was some sort of weird message, to revolutionise the world or something. I don't know. Yeah.
How bizarre.
Yeah, very odd. Yeah.
How bizarre. Anyway, those were our listographies. Keep them coming because we'll have to do another one tomorrow.
Yes.
And the next day. Oh, actually, not the next day, but all next week as well.
Indeed.
It has become quite a popular little feature.
Oh, indeed.
Actually. It has to be done. Now, coming up next, of course, it is Porkyvision.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to give anybody any kind of prelim as to what you're going to be talking about.
We will be discussing a Rogerisation situation in which I can place myself through something I've seen on the TV.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
How about this from somebody called Rob, who says, "Go and see Matisse's The Snail at the Tate Modern. It is stunning." Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm quite fond of Matisse as well.
Right.
Here's one from Sean, who says, "Good morning, the two mites, a.k.a. the two raconteurs, bon viveurs. Great TV show, Bosch, about a cop called Hieronymus Bosch." I didn't know that.
Bosch. What are we talking about Bosch for?
Because one of my... You don't listen to anything I say, do you?
Oh, yes, I do, yes.
One of my artists that I chose was Hieronymus Bosch.
Of course it was.
A 15th century, hot Dutch painter.
Indeed.
And apparently there's a TV show named after him.
Oh.
Which you should know, really.
Well, there you go. There you go, yeah.
And now somebody also asked, why don't we do a next week's quiz on John Constable? And that's from Steve, but I had to remind him, we've already done one on Constable.
We have, yes.
And you got 3 out of 10.
Indeed.
So there we are. This is Talk Sport. Porkyvision coming next. That music means only one thing. It is, of course, time for Porkyvision, the best TV review this side of what we're saying is Reykjavik or Keflavik, of course, because Iceland happens to be in the news at the moment. Yes. I'll just read you this before you start. Mm-hmm. Belfast Billy says, "Please don't mention Game of Thrones, Porky, or at least warn the listeners." Yeah. I don't believe you are going to do Game of Thrones.
No, I'm not. I've never seen Game of Thrones.
Or give anything away. So.
Apparently the world's best ever battle happened in Game of Thrones
Very
last
expensive
week.
battle, too.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. No, listen, what I want to talk to you about is this, right? Now, there's this programme on Saturday night. It's called The Liver Birds, okay?
Well, not the original Liver Birds.
Well, this is the thing. You know that the writer, Carla Lane, died last month.
She did.
So I'm not going into, historical television, from my youth or anything like that. The point is that to celebrate her life, right, they showed a classic episode.
Oh, right.
Now, what I want to say is this. This was a tale of two girls who lived together in a flat in Liverpool. That's why they're called the Liver Birds.
Yeah.
In the late 60s, early 70s, right?
Yes. Well, I was going to say, I used to watch that show sort of quite religiously.
Yes.
Because in those days there wasn't much on TV.
Yes.
But I can't remember the last time I saw one.
Yeah. Well, the problem is it didn't represent Liverpool in the 60s or 70s. There was hardly ever any mention of the Beatles, right?
Right.
There was hardly ever any mention of, Jerry and the Pacemakers, Ferry Across the Mersey and all that kind of stuff. But the main thing is... I used to go with a mate of mine to Liverpool in those days, like the mid-70s, okay?
Right.
And this was set about in the mid-70s, or it might have been a bit earlier. But the point is, the whole point of going over to Liverpool and going to the Pyramid nightclub, right, was that there were dozens of young ladies there, and you always usually ended up going home with one of them.
Right.
And
it's a familiar pattern, isn't it?
Well, this is it.
Life.
No, this is why me and my mate used to go over. Me and my mate Cole, who's from the Wirral. Unfortunately, he died on the Queen Victoria boat when it pulled into Venice, and they found
this guy, yeah.
Yeah, he hadn't got off, so they went and broke the door down to his cabin and found he was dead.
Yeah.
Which was a bit of a shame, really, but these things happen.
Well, especially for him.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah. And but years ago, we used to get in the car, and there wasn't a drink driving situation because you got in the car, drove over to Liverpool, we parked the car somewhere, but we knew we wouldn't be getting back in the car until 10 or 11 o'clock next morning.
Right.
You used to go over on a Saturday night. So
did you have to be careful where you park then?
Not really, because in those days they didn't have all the meters all over the place. You could basically park anywhere, you know. So the point is, what I'm saying is, the Liver Birds thing didn't ring true for me because of the lack of Rogerisation.
Right.
There was a load of that going on.
No, but there was always, always a fella in the episode, wasn't there?
No, not really.
They were always looking for it.
Not really. In my view, it just didn't represent what was going on in those days. You've got to remember, it was only 10 years, like in the mid-70s, 75, 76, something like that, you know. It was only 10 years after the Summer of Love. And The Summer of Love was 1967.
So was it not also something to do with the fact that it was a family show and it went out at kind of, to family prime time, so they couldn't have that much of the old horizontal refreshment in, could they?
It should have done. It just wasn't realistic at all in any way. Now, the point is...
What is the point?
Well, the point is that the Summer of Love, which is in 1967... and celebrated like Free Love Man and all that kind of stuff. That came back to this country very quickly indeed. In fact, I would say the mid-70s were much more promiscuous than today. Much more promiscuous.
I would say not.
No, I would say they were, because everybody then felt, that if you can get on the pill and all that kind of stuff.
But you see, the difference
there was lots of Rogerisation around.
But the thing I think that's different between now and then was that there wasn't as much promiscuity in the sort of people over the age of 40, whereas now everybody's at it.
Oh, yeah. There's
a
lot of middle-aged women now getting divorced because they want to go out and get a lot more nookie, if you see what I mean.
And men.
And some men. But men in their mid-50s are not as attractive as women in their mid-50s, in my view. You know what I mean?
Well, that all depends on your perspective.
Well, it depends on your perspective. What I don't like is, I don't like the idea of a man in his mid-50s, if you see what I mean, Mike, running around after young girls who are 20 or 30 years younger.
Don't like that?
Well, I just think I think it's a pretty disgraceful and disgusting behaviour, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
You see these Russian oligarchs who are all go on holiday to places like Cyprus.
Yeah.
And,
what about Ronnie Wood, then?
Ronnie Wood's doing OK, because he's taken his responsibilities very seriously. He's 69, he's just got a new little pair of twins, he's taking it very seriously.
Right.
Says he's changing all nappies and all that kind of stuff, But the Russian oligarchs on their, they're big fat guys, and they lie in their sun lounges, reinforced sun lounges, I'm told, along the side of the swimming pool in Cyprus at these 5-star hotels.
Oh, yeah.
And they've all got very young Russian ladies with them, look a bit out of sync. I'm told they do treat them very well. It's not dismissive.
No.
They don't treat them,
They're not sexist in any way.
They're not
sexist.
No, not sexist. No, they treat them like ladies, and they pull the chairs out at the dining table for them to sit down, all that kind of stuff,
Right.
So that's very good. But the Liver Birds thing to me never made it. I mean,
So was this like just an episode of the Liver Birds?
Yes, it was just an episode,
okay.
but it wasn't true to life. Now, the point is, me and my mate, one night, right, we went...
You're not going to mention the other TV shows?
Oh, yeah, I will in a minute,
okay.
I was just saying that on this Rogerisation situation, one time we decided to branch out. We went to Southport to a nightclub called Toad Hall.
Toad Hall.
Named after the Toad Hall in the book by,
Toad of Toad Hall.
Toad of Toad Hall, the guy who wrote Wind of the Willows.
That's him, Kenneth Graham.
Kenneth Graham, that's right, yeah.
Not a relation, by the way.
And that was even more spectacularly successful because the girls in Southport, weren't even as world wisely as the girls in Liverpool.
Worldly wise.
So when me and my mate turned up, sophisticated guys from, what's your problem?
The thought of you turning up and anyone thinking you're sophisticated.
Oh, they did, yeah.
Extraordinary.
That was a real success. So that was that. Now, talking about young ladies on television, there's a new show coming out. It's called It's Not Me, It's You.
Okay.
And
there's a lot of new stuff out. I saw a trailer for Victoria last night.
Victoria. What's that about?
I think it's about Queen Victoria.
Oh, about Queen Victoria. Okay, I thought you might be Victoria Beckham.
Not Victoria Station.
Now this...
Or Victoria Beckham.
Yeah, this new panel game, It's Not Me, It's You, is probably going to be hopeless, to be honest.
Is it?
It's on Channel 5.
Okay.
And the centre person figure in it is Eamon Holmes.
Okay.
Who I think is excellent as a presenter.
Has he not got enough to do?
Well, I don't know. He does Sky News, and then does he do once a week a mid-morning show on ITV, or is it every day?
I think he does every day, doesn't he?
Every day. I thought it was once a week with his wife, Ruth. Is it Ruth?
I thought he used to. He used to do this morning, didn't he?
Yeah, okay. Anyway, look, the point is...
Well, just ask me a question and don't let me answer it.
What?
Why don't you just ask me a question and don't let me answer it?
I did ask you, and you said you think it's every day.
And then you went, anyway.
Yeah, anyway, Now, what I'm saying is, I'm sure Eamon will be very amusing and all that kind of stuff, but the reason why it's worth watching is for two particular reasons. One of them is Kelly Brook, and the other one is Vicky Patterson.
So is this like two teams then?
Yeah, two teams,
so
that's
Kelly's
right.
in charge of one and Vicky's in charge of the other?
Kelly Brook and Vicky Patterson in charge of two teams, and they each week have different celebrity guests who have to tackle various silly games and challenges designed to test their knowledge of dating and relationships.
Oh, God.
Now,
doesn't sound brilliant, does it?
Now, Kelly Brook, of course, was only this week again confirmed as the world's most beautiful woman, wasn't she?
She was confirmed as I think almost the perfect
woman,
but
right?
in terms of her, but it was in terms of her sort of vital statistics,
yes,
if you like.
Yes, that's absolutely. But I mean, in every, she's a multimillionaire. She's been successful. She said only recently, I've given up on dating men with the prospect of marrying them. She said, I date younger men now, and I'm going to find myself an updated new hottie every couple of years.
Yeah.
So she's...
There goes your chance, then.
Well, absolutely. But she's very much into it.
She's been through her older men phase.
Yes, she's been through her older men phase. Now, Vicky Patterson,
Who is she?
Well, I think she's in Geordie Shore or something, or it might be what's the Essex
Only Way
one?
Is Essex,
Only One in Essex, something like that. But she's pretty famous anyway. She's very good looking. So they're
compared to Kelly Brook.
Well, she's not as good looking as Kelly Brook, but they're both on the same show, so you probably wouldn't notice the difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now they're going to be in that show and very easy on the eye. Now the Musketeers, right? Bit disappointed with the Musketeers because I started watching it and then it went off. Do you know why it went off?
Why?
Because of the scheduling of Euro 16, which is what we're involved in.
Right.
Euro
You're quite
2016.
right. She's in Geordie Shore.
She's in Geordie Shore. I told you about that. Right.
So she's an English television personality, columnist, writer, and model.
Absolutely.
Writer. She's a writer.
A writer, is she? Okay, fine. Now, what I was going to say to you was is that the Musketeers are big Rogerisers. You see what I mean?
The Three Musketeers?
Oh, yeah. Very, very big Rogerisers.
Really?
Yes, you'll find
well,
that.
I don't remember that being in too many of the films.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry. This is a new episode. It's a new episode. It's on Mondays at 9 o'clock, and I think you'll find that, what were their names again? Gaston? I think old Gaston is chief Rogeriser.
Aramis was one, wasn't he?
Who?
Aramis was one.
Aramis? Yeah. That sounds like a men's eau de cologne.
Yes, that's because it was a men's eau de cologne.
Yeah, that's right. I thought it was.
It sounds like it. It was named after one of the Musketeers.
Yeah, was it? Yeah. Old Gaston is chief Rogeriser there.
Right.
And
a lot of people think D'Artagnan is one of them as well.
D'Artagnan,
but he's not, though, is he?
I think he is, isn't he? I think he is.
No, a lot of people think he is, but he's not.
Oh, isn't he? Who's he then?
He was their kind of associate.
Oh, was he? All right, okay. Now, so that's all the Rogerising situation, which you all need to know about. Now, the other one, which is very important, is unlocking the cage. This is... are we still with the Three Musketeers here? No, Three Musketeers have gone.
More like the Man in the Iron Mask.
Man in the Iron Mask, that was Leonardo DiCaprio.
Was it?
Yes, it was, yeah.
I remember the older version.
I remember the Leonardo DiCaprio version.
DiCaprio.
Begging not to be put back in the Iron Mask.
Yeah.
No, please, don't put me back in the Iron Mask. Not the mask. Yeah, that's right.
So this is unlocking a different kind of cage, is it?
Yeah, this is unlocking a cage. Now, this is about trying to free animals in captivity, so it's very close to my heart.
Okay.
And
is Tommy the Chimp in there?
Well, he was subject to a similar sort of legal approach. Now, this guy is called Stephen.
Stephen?
What's his name? Stephen Wise. His name is Stephen Wise.
I thought it was about animals, though.
It is about animals.
Well, the animal called Stephen.
What?
Is the animal called Stephen?
No, the lawyer is called Stephen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let me just see what's going on here. Right, now, Stephen Wise is an American lawyer who decided to get rights for animals. So he goes to the High Court to try and free a load of chimps.
Isn't he the guy we spoke to? Do you remember we spoke to an American lawyer about Tommy the Chimp?
I think we did.
I think that's the guy we talked to.
I think it could be.
Yeah.
Could be Stephen Wise. Could be. Anyway, it's a programme about him, and he wants to battle all these to free all these chimps who are kept in shocking conditions at zoos and in laboratories throughout the state where he lives, New York State, OK?
Yeah.
And he said...
I'm sure he's the guy.
He probably is. Now, he said, under the law, non-human things such as corporations, ships, states and rivers had been recognised as legal entities, so why not animals, OK?
Yeah.
So he goes through and watched all the course of the law case, right? And we saw footage of Merlin. Merlin's a chimpanzee being kept in a tiny cage. And, you know, it was a horrible thing to see. It wasn't Tommy the Chimp, it was Merlin, OK? And Merlin lost the only friend in the world he had, which was his mate, who also lived in an adjoining cage, OK? And Merlin got depressed, and it was... Merlin's cage.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely heartbreaking to see Merlin punching himself in the face in anger and frustration.
Oh, dear.
So
what channel was this on?
This was on the BBC.
Oh, OK, so you can see it on iPlayer then if you missed it.
Yes, I think it's on BBC 4.
OK.
And it's a truly shocking programme, OK?
OK.
But in the end, he didn't manage to get any rights for animals, so it's got to happen all over again. But it was a terrible reminder of the way that we don't look, after our animals properly in this world, OK?
OK.
That is the end of Porkyvision.
Thank you very much indeed. You've never said that before. So that indeed is Porkyvision for this week. There will be another one same time next week.
Thank you.
Tomorrow night, tonight, of course, we are doing a referendum special. It will be 5 hours of Porkmeister and myself. However, there will still be a Porky quiz, and it will be, and I have to make sure I'm precise on this, otherwise you'll jump down my throat. It'll be on European bands that have had success in the British charts.
That's it.
This is Talk Sport. Talk Sport, we are the two Mikes. Here's one from Sam on the football. He says the goalie for Hungary is superstitious and has been wearing the same tracky bottoms for over 20 years.
No.
He does wash them, though. Apparently, he had some incident where he let the ball in through his legs. And ever since then, he's worn tracksuit bottoms. So it doesn't matter how hot the weather is. Doesn't matter what he's feeling like. He always wears them.
What a nerd.
Well, I mean, he looks a bit of a character, to be honest. How about this one from Aaron, who says, for next week's Porkyvision, can Porky watch the two reality shows, Love Island and Big Brother, and give us his views, please?
What, on the Rogerisation situation?
Well, maybe.
You mean?
I mean, there seems to be a lot of that going on.
Because, of course, that beauty queen got
Miss Great Britain.
Miss Great Britain sacked because she was allegedly having intimate relations under the duvet.
Well, what you didn't tell me was when we did that story, because I thought that they'd uncovered some kind of sex tape from before. What you didn't tell me was that she'd been on television actually having, what you would describe as horizontal refreshment on live television.
She was,
Which is it's not perhaps the most...
On a reality show.
Not perhaps the most noble thing she's got involved in.
I think you're not wrong there.
How about this from Robbie? He says, my father met my mother at Toad Hall for the first time 50 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, how good of you to let us know that. Thank you very much indeed.
And Sir Daftalot says, I bet Porky thinks Hieronymus Bosch is a manufacturer of power tools.
Excuse me.
You feeling all right?
Cough there. Hieronymus Bosch. Yeah, well, I mean, Bosch do make... No, I tell you what, I thought it was actually the guy who made my new washing machine, because that's a Bosch.
Oh, yeah, how's that going? Yeah, is it working okay?
Working okay, I think, as long as it hasn't been struck by lightning while I've been out.
What's the story with the boiler, by the way? Because you're not having to replace that?
It's going to have to be replaced,
Yeah, but I mean, have you not had any hot water, though?
Oh, yeah, I've got hot water, I just don't have heating.
Oh, you don't have heating?
But I have needed heating.
Well, you haven't really needed it.
No.
Well, so where does hot water come from then? Somewhere else?
It comes from the boiler, but the...
Well, I thought you said the boiler was broken.
No, the element that produces the... the surge of power or something to push it round the radiators is packed in.
Oh, right.
But the water element of it is working.
That's weird,
So I have hot showers and all that hot
bizarre.
water. Yeah, it is a bit bizarre.
Although if one bit of it's gone, you should really get it replaced.
Well, that's right. It
Goes.
makes a clanking noise. If I try to switch on the heating, it just makes a terrible clanking noise. Whenever I hear a clanking noise, I always fear something's going to blow up.
I'm not surprised about that.
Or collapse or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're in a car and you hear a clanking noise, you can turn the radio up. But if you're in a house and you hear a clanking
I wouldn't
noise,
recommend that you
can turn the telly up, but it might just blow up the house.
No, but if you're in a car, if you're in a car and you hear a clanking noise, I wouldn't just ignore it.
Yeah, well,
and turn up the radio.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
How about this from Tony? Porky's review of TV this week makes me all the more happy to be tuned into the radio.
What?
I think he's saying that there's not much worth watching.
No. Come on. I got to the heart of the matter, as I always do.
He's not criticising
you. Yeah, I hope not.
No, he's saying that he's very happy to be tuned into the radio.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I get paranoid now.
No, I'm getting paranoid.
You know what's happened to you, don't you?
What?
See, I know you so well.
What?
You're now thinking about how on earth you're going to get home. So you're already distracted.
You're
worried about the car.
Not at all.
You're worried about running out of petrol.
Not at all.
You're worried about getting out of your car into knee-deep water.
Yeah, well, this could all happen.
I can see.
I may be giving you a call later saying...
Well, I've got the Land Rover, which you've constantly kind of made fun of over the years,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be ironic if I had to come and rescue you in my fantastic 4x4 vehicle,
it certainly
which goes through puddles without any problem whatsoever?
Have you got any spare petrol in your car?
I have, yeah. You want to siphon it out? I'll give you a hose.
No, have you got a canister of it in the back?
No.
Well, why did you ask me if I've got a canister in mine?
Well, some people carry an empty canister in case you ever run out of petrol.
Mine isn't even a 4x4 vehicle. They'll take it across fields like you take your Land Rover. You know what I mean?
But my point is that, some people have, because they are people who like to prepare for all eventualities, and I thought you were one of them, that you would have an empty can. It's not wise to carry a full can of petrol in the back of your car, in case, obviously, you get shot by somebody with a bullet, like you suggested I was.
That is absolutely right.
But you're welcome to siphon some diesel out of my car if you want.
And how would I do that?
With a hose. How do you think?
I haven't got a hose, and I have no intention of sucking diesel into my mouth because that'll poison me.
Are you saying you've never done that before?
No, never.
Really?
Well, have you stolen petrol as well?
No, I haven't. No, you were the one that stole the diesel. You seem to have forgotten that story.
No, I haven't stolen any diesel.
You did. When you worked at the petrol station, how did you run the diesel?
No, it was petrol.
Oh, it was petrol. So you stole petrol?
I didn't steal anything.
You did.
A tanker would turn up in the middle of the night.
You took delivery of stolen fuel, did you not?
And we would put like 4,000 gallons of it into a tank under the petrol station. Yeah. And an arrangement was then made between the tanker driver who'd come from Stanley Oil Refinery in Ellesmere Port and the owner of
which you were a
petrol
party.
Station. I was only...
No, you were in receipt of stolen goods, were you not?
No, I was obeying orders.
You can't get away with that one this day.
I was told, this had to be done, and I had to facilitate it, and that's what I did.
Yeah, but you could have still snitched on people to the police, couldn't you?
No, not me. No.
Why not?
I had no idea it was an illegal arrangement until much, much later, till many years later.
Ignorance is no defence.
Yeah, well,
anyway, suffice it to say that the only person who's been involved in dodgy dealings with petrol and various kinds of fuel is you. I've never stolen petrol in my life.
I don't think so. I've never driven away from a petrol station, not paid or anything like that. Now then, I'll tell you what I was going to talk to you about.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I was going to talk to you about. Do you know that there is a proposal now for, you can sign yourself off from work on a self-illness list or something?
Yes, and you don't now need a doctor's note for quite a long period of time, do you?
2 weeks.
Is it 2 weeks?
Yeah, they're called sick notes. It's a self-signing sick note.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Right.
It's kind of a weird thing that they've come up with, isn't it?
No, what's happened is doctors are now complaining they've got too much work to do again.
Yeah.
So they're now saying, look, all these people come in after a week.
They shouldn't go on strike so much.
Yeah, exactly. All these people come in after a week and they want us to sign them off. But for the first week, they can sign themselves off.
Yeah.
Now they're saying employers have got to accept that people can sign themselves off for 2 weeks without needing a doctor's note.
Because it used to be you were allowed to have, I think, 4 days off.
Yeah.
And then you needed a doctor's note. So they're now saying they want you to be able to have,
2 weeks.
10 days? Or,
10 days.
Or 14?
A fortnight. Employees should be allowed to sign themselves off work for up to 2 weeks because GPs are too busy to write sick notes. People should be trusted not to skive. Well, I'm sorry, but if you knew human nature like I do, this is a skiver's charter.
It certainly is.
Without a shadow of a doubt, it's a skiver's charter.
It certainly is, because unfortunately, despite the fact that, we have as many regulations in place as possible, which is supposed to make, industrial relations work well.
That's right.
People just take advantage.
Of course they do.
And I'm not talking about just the people who are at work. I'm talking about the bosses as well. Sometimes management take advantage. Sometimes the workers take advantage.
That's right. This is called self-certification, OK?
Yeah.
Absence from sickness costs businesses an estimated $29 billion. I'll repeat that, $29 billion a year.
Right.
The average private sector worker is off sick for 1.8% of working hours, right?
Yeah.
But guess what that rises to amongst NHS workers?
I don't know.
3.4%.
Really?
Double.
Yeah.
And it's always the case in public sector arenas.
But if you raise this particular problem, they'll say that's because they've got a much more stressful job, right?
Yeah.
That's what they'll say.
Well, yeah, I don't accept that. I'm sorry. The most stressful job is somebody running his own business with him 10 employees, right?
Well,
and
I
those 10
working
employees.
in an A&E is quite stressful.
Well, OK, I agree it is. But a guy who creates 10 jobs by running his own packaging business, right? And then suddenly, if one of his workers starts swinging the lead, you get rid of them because otherwise the business fails.
Yeah.
But in the NHS, which has got millions of people literally working for it, when one person takes 1 day off, it doesn't make that much difference.
True. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. You're going to have to start making your way home in a boat, I suspect, because the rain is absolutely biblical out there. This is Talk Sport.
But baby, you and I are not the same.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, of course. The podcast actually have been going very smoothly lately, if you don't mind me saying so.
Yes, they have.
I thought you might have something good to say to me about that in terms of how happy you are that you haven't had to blame me for anything going wrong.
I think you'll find that there have been quite a barrage of early morning tweets saying, has Porky got involved in the podcast distribution?
Yes.
Because for the last 2 weeks it's worked perfectly.
No, I would say for the past
No,
month
I
and
haven't.
a half or so.
I haven't, bigged myself up by replying and saying, well, yes, actually, I did decide to get a grip because it wasn't working.
What have you been doing?
Sorry?
What have you been doing?
Well, I've been having words with people to
With
make
who?
sure. Well, I don't want to say too much.
No, because you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I
do.
do. Yeah, I do.
Well, I was giving you the
young
opportunity.
Alex, I get a note
Alex
from him
who?
every morning. Young Alex, I'm not
Alex
going
who?
to. I'm going to surnames.
You don't know his name, do you?
I do.
What is it?
Alex Varney. Alex Varney.
Alex Varney.
Is it Alex Varney?
It is Alex Varney.
Well, there you go, see. So I talk to the boy and I make sure that he's got clear and concise instructions on what needs to be done, and it gets done, OK?
So you're going to claim credit for this, then, are you?
Well, I don't want... As I say...
What I was giving you the opportunity to do was to say how great it is now that the technical department seems to have their heads around everything, and it seems to be getting out much quicker than it used to.
I don't like bigging myself up, you know that.
Yeah, but I really don't wish you to claim something that you don't do.
Well, I'm not...
But anyway, so I'm very happy. So now, obviously, whenever anything goes wrong, you'll be the guy to deal with it. Yes. And so whenever anything, whenever it is delayed, I presume you'll be able to explain to all the hordes of Twitter followers out there why it's late.
No.
So I'm very happy to hand over the responsibility to you.
No.
Thank you very much indeed.
No, I'm not taking responsibility for it.
Why?
I'm sorry.
Why not? You just said that you've been fixing it all up.
No, I didn't. I
so
said
why
I've been tweaking
not,
and turning a little bit.
So why would you not take responsibility in case it works out badly?
Well, because it has to be your ultimate responsibility, because you're the last person to touch base with the people who make it before you leave here.
No, incorrect.
I am certainly not taking responsibility.
Incorrect.
Certainly not.
I've always said to you, the only time I get involved is when it is late, and that's when I have to try and start making things happen.
Oh, really? Yes.
But you've been exposed again as a fraud.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Now,
I just like to keep people informed.
Yeah,
yes.
OK. The quiz tomorrow is on European music, specifically European bands that have made it into the British charts.
Exactly, that's exactly what it is.
Because we thought that would fit in well with the context of the show, which is, of course, all about the referendum.
Yes, it is.
Which the polls will open, although if the weather is this bad, you wonder whether some of the polls might not open quite as much on time as they were expected to. But we'll find out about that later on.
You're quite right, we've got monsoon conditions.
Later on in the day, but only in certain parts of the country, specifically in the south of England.
Yes.
So what are you going to be doing for the rest of the day? Hopefully preparing for the night's slogging.
Well, we've got a big night tonight. We've got to get our millions of listeners through the night and keep them abreast of the... So I will be studying my journals
But don't forget to have some sleep, though.
Don't worry about that. Don't need a lot of that. Studying my journals on the...
Yeah, but you'll be being employed for an extra time period.
Yes, but on the European Constitution, obviously.
Is that what you're going to be studying?
Obviously. Yeah.
All right,
OK?
Marvellous.
Right, good. So that's all sorted, and I hope you'll be up to speed as well.
We should remind everybody, by the way, if you want to go to the twomics.co.uk, you can find tickets there for the rugby show that we're doing on July the 16th.
Yes.
And also for the Edinburgh Festival, which we're doing coming up at the end of August.
Yeah, and I think
3 nights.
We should also say, in this bad weather, you might not want to go out, so if you don't want to go out, download the Two Mics Live DVD. What's the most famous thing that ever came out of Denmark?
Well, I know, Hans Christian Andersen.
No, bacon.
Bacon?
Yeah. They were the first people to realise that you could turn a pig into a bacon sandwich. The apes invent a cooker with stones.
All right.
Because if you put a load of stones together in the hot midday sun in Rwanda, the inside of the stones gets very hot, and apes have realised this.
So they've actually made an oven.
They've made an oven. They make ovens.
Okay.
Apes make ovens, and they put the meat in the ovens, and the meat cooks.
So it's
honestly
like a stone-baked kind of oven?
Yes, it is, yeah. It's very much like that. Very much like that. Also, it's not just meat that apes now cook. They cook their potatoes, sweet potatoes. They stick them in their ovens as well.
Are they vegetarians, these apes, then?
No, of course they're not. How could an ape be a vegetarian if it's sticking meat in the oven?